always going up. You can't take from us. We ain't slowing up. Look what life gave us. Always going up. You can't take from us. We ain't slowing up. Look what life gave us.
I seen you back there, Woon.
Gigging. hey, that song just automatically makes you want to dance.
Right.
I swear I love that song.
Moving.
Hey,
yo, what's popping?
What's good? Welcome to another episode of the Free Your Mind podcast, where you can come free your mind and help others free theirs. I'm your co-host, and I go by the name of Woon, and I'm all about balance like the sun and the moon. What's happening?
Okay. I am another co-host by the name of Selfmade, and you got to tap into self to know thyself always.
Yes, sir.
What up, though, man? How you been? It's been a minute, man. I missed the whole podcast vibes, man.
Man, hell yeah, man. And there's so many different people been tapping in, like, are you guys going, if not Thursday, are you guys going to do it on Friday? And, so the people tapping in, and I appreciate the love and shit, so it's Gucci.
Yeah, shout out to the chat. I know Trika.
Oh, Shorty in the, let me.
Trika in the building, Mariah in the building. Peace to the goddesses.
I have to close my shit down. Peace to the guy. They in there early. Early.
As soon as it start.
That's a fact. But yeah, so last week, man, and it was my fault. So please don't be mad. I was going through some. I was trying to do some health shit, right? And I mistook some steps and shit. So I on my health tip, and I had to get through it. You understand what I'm saying? So man, my shit was fucked off. But it was all about trying to get my health right, and I mistook some steps, and I didn't do enough research before I tried to start doing a different option for a diet. So I had to pay the consequences. Oh, let me switch this around because it's gonna fuck me up. Yeah, but I paid the consequences, and I learned. But in the process, I cleaned out my fucking system. So I'm gonna just leave it at that. But to keep it real with the people that's not there, my stomach was fucked up because I had to take a shit and I couldn't shit. Right, you know what I mean? Super constipated. Yeah, it was bad. But again, I got through it and I learned. Like, you know what I mean? And I took the greatest shit ever. But speaking of going through some shit, that's what today's topic is going to be about.
Depression.
You
dealing with depression.
Yeah, depression, man.
That's right. She said TMI.
Hey, look, y'all know I ain't got no filter around this motherfucker. That's how you
keep it real and raw. You know what I'm saying?
You got to get it out, and I had to get it out.
Right, in both ways, huh?
That's a fact. But yeah, no. So depression, man. I've been seeing so many different people just on Facebook alone, but that's not why I want to talk about it. But just having deep conversations with people, and I just kept on seeing it pop up, like depression this, depression that. I'm depressed or going through depression or trying to get through it. So I guess it was like right on time for motherfuckers to talk about it, like, you know what I mean. So I definitely take the negative connotation or the negative energy away from what depression is, like, you know what I mean. So a lot of people think it's like a bad thing or think it's like something for you to not go through, when really it's one of the dopest times in your life ever, like, you know what I mean.
All right. Yeah. Definitely. We got Lala in the building.
Yeah, we got the guest speaker Lala coming back to the building. What's popping, lady?
Hi, you guys. I don't have a cool intro. I'm just Lala, right? I'm going to come up with one for the next episode, man. I'm going to be on your level with that.
Hey, next time you come on, we're going to give you the Smurfs intro. La, 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 la.
In the background.
I'm over here snapping with it if you didn't hear it. But
it's either going to be that.
That's dope. I like that. I like how you're so quick with it, man.
That's a fact. Or it's either going to be that or it's going to be some Mac Dre. That la, 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 lots of paper.
Yeah. We got to do that one.
I was like, I resonate more with the Smurfs. I mean, I'm just saying, right? No, I'm good, man. I'm in good spirits today, so I'm good.
Oh yeah, no, I am too. I should have. As a matter of fact, y'all know I'll put a shout out to the potential sponsors.
Hey man, you gotta stop showing them, bro, because they're not sponsoring the podcast right now, bro.
I'm gonna put it like, I'm gonna put that shit like a 211 bottle and shit. See, we get it like 211.
Switch it up.
211 endorses for sure. They like, all right, nigga, for sure. Got you.
Yeah.
They'll everybody be nasty and shit.
Take it old school and just go 2020. Go Mad Dog 2020. You might as well.
Ooh.
Thunderbird and Kool-Aid, man.
The bananas.
Man, too many stories about that. Both them shits.
Hey, somebody said the devil will bring you to God.
Zenith Heen?
Zenith Heen. Shout out to bro.
To bring you to God. That's a fucking bar. That's a bar.
That's real though. It's real.
It's a bar. Definitely a bar. How you think that translates in with depression?
I got this one. You got to go through the low to get to the high, man. I just went through it. I'm like, put me on. Give me the mic. Let me spill my spill. No, but that statement in itself, Zenith, it does resonate for sure because you do have to hit that low to feel that high. If we don't know what the low feels like, we definitely can't reach the high.
Facts. Got to go through it. You got to go through it.
And that's what I was saying, like, in terms of again, just bringing it up as far as like the trying to shy away from that, the negative connotation or aspect of what depression, of what people think depression is. And Laura, I know that you have not to put your background out there, but I know that you are in the medical field and shit, right? So when it comes down to that, I know it may seem like, I don't know if they put that in a negative state as far as on some medical shit.
Absolutely. It has a stigma associated with it that you're naturally just down and out. And what they try to do is they try to medicate you immediately. Anytime you talk about any depression, the first step is, let's put you on an antidepressant. Like, no, I need to sit in this depressive state. You don't hear me though. Don't put me on anything that's going to be mind altering or receptive blocking, because that's all it is. It's a receptor blocker. That's a fact.
I like Mariah Clark. She said, got to go through them dark times. And that's exactly what I was going to get to with the dark times, right? And usually when you're in a state of depression, it's going to be a state of evolving and shit, right? Or something's going to be new, right? So if we go to the dark spot, right, we can associate that with the caterpillar going into its cocoon before it turns into a butterfly, right? It has to go into that dark phase. It has to be isolated. It cannot be a part of what's going on in its natural habitat. Like, you know what I mean? It really has to be tapped in with self, and then it emerges as a fucking butterfly with the wings and shit, right? Also, you think about when you plant a new seed, that new seed has to be planted into the dirt, and the dirt is in darkness, and then it has a certain thing it has a certain process that it has to go through before it cracks the ground and then be able to get to the sunlight or go above the surface. So there's so many different ways that you could look at it, like, you know what I mean? But the dark times, yes, you definitely, I definitely fuck with that for sure.
Yeah. It's like you pile on. It's like that pressure, depressed. It's like you pile on a whole bunch of stuff, but you're not dealing with it. You know what I mean? And it's just like a whole bunch of pressure on you, and because you're not dealing with it, you're all down, and you know what I mean. You don't know what's going on in your life or whatever. You know what I mean. The circumstance may be, and so it's like, yeah, once you deal with all of those things that's piled on you. That's what's going to relieve that pressure or depress you. You know what I'm saying? In a different manner.
No, that's exactly what it is. And it's just like, just like what you were saying, like, there's something, and I want to fill in that blank to what that something is. When you're naturally, our natural state, right? We usually think about our mental health. We usually think about our physical health, but we really don't take the time out, or really don't have the time to fuck with our spiritual health and shit, right? So in my mind, the depression comes from a spiritual standpoint. Like, your spirit is talking to you, like, nigga, we gotta get this shit straight. Like, you know what I mean? So ultimately, again, like our natural states, like, you know what I mean? We're going to work, or we're going to go pick up our kids from school, we're doing homework with them, or we're cooking, or we're doing shit like that. So we don't get time to process what the spirit wants. Like, you know what I mean? So we put that shit on the back burner, right? But that spirit is on the back burner, but that nigga's with that banger. He like, nigga, I'm gonna come get you. If you don't come fuck with me, I'm gonna come get you. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm gonna come sit you down until we figure this shit out. Like, you know what I mean? So at that sitting down stage is where you're supposed to really sit down and really get the fucking, you know, what your spirit wants, and it's all self-serving. Like, you know what I mean? So of course, when you get into that state, sometimes you don't know. It's a state of not being aware of what you really want. Because again, we're talking about spirit talk. We're not talking about physical. So even when the doctors try to prescribe some type of fucking medicine, like, nigga, this spirit, baby. Like, you talking about some physical shit, my nigga. Like, you can't prescribe nothing for me for this, but some time off at home so I can tap into myself and so I can figure this motherfucking shit out. Period.
But Woon, can I interject with that? Even, you know,
You
from
sure
the
can.
medical side, you know, and being, you know, a nurse who has worked in psychiatric hospitals, when they hit that diagnosis of depression, that pill comes with suppression.
Woo!
So, you know what I mean? The
That was a
suppression of, you know, those feelings or those emotions that you have to go through. And, you know, I mean, you already know I got so much energy towards this topic in itself because, you know, you reach one, you teach one. And I literally battled this topic is my life the past 3 years. So, you know, I can go it in the spiritual realm and I can go into it in the medical realm. And, you know, just my purpose of being here right now is literally if I could save somebody from hitting rock bottom and not being able, you have to hit rock bottom. Let me go ahead and put that out there, but not being able to pull yourself out of that because we are the ultimate controllers of self. So you have to know that you have it in you to pull yourself out of it. If I can do it at my lowest, and I'm going to go into my story in completion, but if I can do it, you can do it. You just have to have that inner, you know what I'm saying? I am factor to you to know that you are, so you can pull yourself out. So that honestly, like I say, you know what I mean? I want to be there in support and just shed my story and put that light out there that, you know what I mean? You have to go through it literally, but you can pull yourself out.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's a whole process.
But, you know, that suppression is real. And the way medications work, you know, medically, some of them are antagonists and some of them are receptive blockers. So they will block your reception of dealing with that. Let's look at Tylenol, just for example. You know what I mean? That body's not hurting, not because it took the pain away. It's not hurting because that medication targeted that pain receptor, so you're numb to that, but it still hurts. It doesn't hurt any less. You're just not experiencing that pain that's associated with it because it was suppressed.
Exactly.
Right.
While you're depressed, don't get on medication to suppress.
Yeah, because it's not doing nothing
at all. You're still gonna fight them demons, and you're still gonna go through all the emotions associated with it. So if you suppress it now, you're gonna blow up later.
Yeah, stagnancy.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Nothing should be stagnant. Nothing should be still. You know what I mean? So it's like if you blocking yourself from putting in that work, then yeah, it's for surely gonna blow up. And when it blow up, it ain't gonna be good.
It's not, you know what I mean? And typically, you know, what you tend to see is, you know, not dealing with it or going into that suppression survival mode. Like, you know, let me go ahead and suppress this right now. But how about when you don't have that suppression crutch any longer and stuff starts to pile on more and more and more? You know what I mean? So we can't lean on that crutch. We have to deal with it as it comes and be able to associate that. And you know, when I went through it, that I had a lot of underlying factors, you know, as far as like my mom dying and, you know, me just being in toxic environments. I'm gonna leave that out there because I don't want to put anybody on blast. But, you know, just the levels of toxicity that I was allowing myself to be exposed to, yet I was suppressing that I was in all these different stages at one time. When I blew, I blew.
And it's important that you said that you were allowing yourself to go through and shit, right?
Yeah.
Because that's for one, that's accountability like a motherfucking shit, right? For two, it would seem like if you said it like that you kind of like spiritually knew that it was something that you had to go through in order to get to where you at right now. Like, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But
And can I go into that, or do you want to go? You want to go?
But before you go in, let me shout out because I'm able to go live and shit again on Facebook. Them niggas had me in jail and shit. Then they let me out. Then they put me on ankle monitor, so I couldn't go live. So I'm so shout out to
for what? Like, can we know?
Man, I fucking on some Super Bowl shit. I was like, I said something like music. I said hip hop runs the fucking world, and can't nobody contest that. But I also said, shout out to my blood homies, but nigga Crips got this shit on smash right now. And I guess they were saying that I was inciting some type of gang shit, but nigga, they know what this is, nigga.
Maybe they were bloods and they didn't like your Crip statement. I'm just
Mark
saying.
Zuckerberg knows Crips, huh? It's crap.
All right.
All right, you're gonna get the whole show. You're gonna get the whole show locked up, nigga.
Right. But no,
any bread around Woon.
Hey, shout out to Rose Smith, she in the building. Shout out to Kasha, she in the building. Mom's in the building.
Hey, do you got the show playing in the background?
I got it on mute. It's on mute.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I just now turned it down lower. We got Roselle in the building. What's good, boy? And we got Brittany in the building, and we got the homegirl Chanel in the building. Salute to each and every one of y'all. We appreciate it. But I just want to say that, Laura, so you go ahead and bust your gizzon.
So, let me give a little bit of background, right? Just, so you get the full perspective. I've always been let me stop right there. I started and I was raised in Christianity, which I chose to walk away from. Both, mom and dad, Christianity. My daddy was a pastor. They say the pastor's daughter's the worst ones. I can attest we are. But with, growing up in Christianity, heavily to the point where I would, have Bible studies with self, and learn the Bible the way that I was supposed to learn it at that time that was soothing to my soul. I chose to walk away from Christianity because there was too many fallacies and it no longer served where I was. And I started to question a lot of things that were in Christianity that nobody could answer. And I would go, have debates with preachers and pastors that, just kind of hit me with it just do, why is this? And, nobody had an answer for it. So, in search of what I was supposed to be or where I was, I developed spirituality rather than religion.
Right.
Once I hit my spiritual maturity, quote unquote, so I thought, you know what I mean? I was at a place where nobody can knock me down. And I knew, I am, and I knew I have control over everything and every perception that I allow myself to see or experience or feel. With that being said, it really did start off with my mom passing away. I'm just going to go into it briefly because I know, most of you guys attend the show and probably heard this story before, but I am a cardiac nurse. My mom had a heart attack and died on me, and I was not able to bring her back after over 20 minutes of CPR alone. And that in itself is traumatizing. It's already hard to do CPR on somebody, but it's harder to do CPR on somebody that you are so strongly attached to.
Yeah, my condolences. R.I.P. to moms.
Thank you. She used to call you her Zen baby too. You were a Zen baby too. Remember?
Hell yeah.
But with that being said, I suppressed dealing with that not through medication, rather how I know how to suppress things. I'm going to keep my mind focused. Thank you, Mariah. I'm going to keep my mind focused, with picking up more hours at work or put me back into clinicals because I'm suppressing dealing with the death of my mom. And I'm not a Western medication person. I don't take Western medications. To me, they're toxins and I don't put them in my body. So as that kind of built up and I started losing sleep, And it took some months for me to even get to that stage. I finally decided I'm going to reach out to a provider and let them know, look, I'm not doing well. And, I'm not sleeping properly, because every time I would fall asleep, I would revisit seeing my mom die on me. Immediately, they
Right.
go into, let's put you on some pills. And I'm like, wait a minute, I don't have any other options.
Right.
Maybe I just want you to listen. But, nonetheless, I suppressed that, and I chose to not deal with that. Ultimately, I ended up dealing with it later on, but in my own way. And I mean, just to go ahead and put that out there so I don't forget, my own way was I went and seen a shaman, I went and seen a Reiki massage healer, and I learned how to journal. And once I put it on paper, you know what I mean, I recalled all my positive energy and sent that energy away. That feeling can no longer live here. And that's literally what got me through, dealing with my mom's death. Not that I don't
Hey.
deal with it on a daily basis. Mm-hmm.
Hey, real quick, I think a lot of people are familiar with what a shaman is, but can you break down what a Reiki, what you say, a Reiki massage therapist is? Was that?
So this lady was just like specially talented in Reiki healing.
Reiki, my bad.
Reiki. So what she does is she massages the negative energy out of your body. And as she's massaging the negative energy out, not like a happy ending, Woon, don't look at me like that.
Hey, don't have me start being silly, because it ain't gonna stop.
Please stop laughing. Please don't get me going. You already know, like, I just fall victim to your laughs, man. But anyways, so they, as the Reiki healer is going into, that, she's literally massaging the negative energy out of my body and making, chants that are restoring and recalling the positive energy back into my body. So that's ultimately, the experience that I had with her, which worked very well. But so then, immediately following that, I ended up, and I'm just going to go ahead and put it out there, I ended up getting into a marriage that I knew I should not have entered before I even entered it. So I can't just say, it was just my mom's passing. But I was also dealing with a lot of different things as well, jumping from a state where I had a lot of friends to moving to a state to be in this marriage where I knew nobody. So I had that isolation factor as well. And, the individual that I married was a severe narcissist, and I am a severe empath. So, I mean, that in its world of itself is just a shit show. But, having that isolation on top of, all the other elements that I'm dealing with, it took me to a really, really dark place spiritually in my life. And yes, Zenith, I was in the cocoon.
In a cocoon.
When I got to that point, I felt, and I was talking to Woon about this on a private level, I literally felt myself not know who I was. I literally felt myself. Let me say this. I physically looked in the mirror and didn't know who I was. And when I say that, I'm not saying it in a mental health way. I'm saying in a soul to soul, I'm looking at my soul and I don't know who is there, as I would look in the mirror. And I got so dark. I'm just going to put it out there because like the transparency has to flow through me, because that's the only way I can be genuine with it. I got so dark that I tried to end my own life at this point, because I don't want to start crying. I already feel it happening. But I didn't see any way out other than death. Death had to happen for me to get out, you guys. And I'm saying this metaphorically now, but I was saying it physically, at that moment. Death had to happen for me to exit or get out. And I physically tried to take my own life. And this wasn't this long ago, you guys. So I'm still in the, in that level of, I feel I'm high on life right now. I've never once considered suicide. I never had a suicide attempt, no suicide ideation, anything ever. And being, I was just talking to Woon about this too, being that my last clinical rotation was actually in a psychiatric hospital. And I was able to encourage patients who were going through depression and suicidal attempt and ideation while they were there in my facility and show them, hey, there's a way out. Yet, as soon as I end that rotation, I am a patient that's trapped into my own self and my own environment, and I couldn't counsel myself through it. I didn't have, it's like the knowledge left me, or I allowed the knowledge to leave me, I should say. And I didn't see a way out. And I physically tried to end my life by consumption of, or overconsumption of medication. And that medication should have been highly toxic and eliminated me. For whatever reason, I'm still here because it didn't work. But I mean, I know I have a plan and I have a reason that I'm still here. With that being said, the narcissist that I was married to at that time knew that I had a suicide attempt. And basically, how when we look at marriage or relationship, the standard that we say is my better half. You know what I mean? My better half couldn't perform to be my better half in the time that I needed them the most. But equally, I have to hold myself accountable to that as well, because I couldn't be my own better half at the time that I needed me the most,
Right there.
So it's like, if I can't do it for myself, I can't have the expectation of anybody else to do it for me.
Right.
So, but having that person who's supposed to be that support system, knowing that I went through, the atrocities that I just went through, basically, tried to blame me for everything that I was experiencing. It was basically like, well, it's because you work too fucking much. And I will say that may have been a contributing factor, because I suppressed everything that I was trying to deal with, At a certain point, I said that there was one moment in particular that I walked past the mirror, you guys, and I'm not going to say this in a vain way or a way that can seem, that I'm better than anybody or anything like that, because I'm not. I believe there's beauty in all women. But I've always really cared about my appearance. Let me just say it like that. I've never been the type of person to slack off on my appearance, quote unquote. But there was a time in particular, that I walked past the mirror and I hated what I seen. So it's like all those emotions and all those feelings that I was dealing with manifested outward in the physical level, to where I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror. And I mean, I hated everything down to the way my skin looked. It was that bad,
Right. Was that a sniffle? Do we need to go to commercial break?
I'm hungry. Well, leave me alone. You got some rice cakes over there?
All those are 8. No, but I'm just making sure you're good.
I'm okay.
We're gonna laugh around this motherfucker too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that's nothing but love. I'm actually proud of where I went, and I like I say, I hated everything about myself. At that point, I was self-sabotaging and I was projecting outward. And I mean, it came down to where I projected outward so much. They say speak it into existence. I spoke that shit into existence. I hated myself so much that it came down to my physical. I could not stand the way I looked. I sat in that shit where I typically wouldn't sit in that. I would suppress, by picking up extra hours or finding, I'll go on hikes or whatever. This time, and it wasn't planned out. It wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna suppress this, you know what I mean? Or, oh, I'm gonna sit in this. I had to sit in that shit. And I had to, oh yeah, it was time. And mind you, like I said, I went, I've always considered myself to be highly spiritual, and almost to the point where I was unbreakable. You know what I mean? So that experience in itself, it had to humble me. Like, look, you think you are unbreakable, but you're not. You know what I mean? So I sat in that and I dealt with it, and I dealt with all the emotions associated and all the feelings and the why. As I sat in that alone, you know what I mean? Instead of trying to dig myself out of that dark hole, I was like, fuck this shit, man. This is where we're at. this
Niggas
is what
set
we're
up
gonna
shop.
do. And
Right.
yeah, you know what I mean? It's
What's
almost like
poppin'?
it's kind of like, I threw them
With that
boxing gloves
haircut.
on. Like, man, look, I'm not a killer, but don't push me, right?
Mhm.
So I sat in it, and I mean, I cried ugly, snot running, drip, but I did a lot of reflection of self during that period. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And as
So
I was going through,
you was looking like Janet Jackson in Poetic Justice and shit, which you was don't pay attention to me.
you know
Right
what I
He
think about
getting
every time
silly.
with
Don't
poetic
pay
justice.
attention to me right
He
now.
getting silly now.
No, but you know what happens with poetic justice? Anytime I think about it, number one, I think about Pac throwing that hairbrush. And then
Weak ass
equally, I
thing.
think about fuck you, nigga, fuck you. That's like the best scene. But but I sat in that and I really dealt with everything when typically, I program myself to suppress. This time I didn't allow myself to suppress. I was like, fuck this shit. We're gonna sit here and we're gonna dwell here.
Right.
As I did that though, like I said, I started to learn a lot about myself in the sense that, yes, I do have control over this. And I put myself here and I allowed myself to put myself here. And ultimately I knew what I was coming for before I even went to it, So with all that being said, I started to slowly but surely kind of climb out of that dark place, When I was in that dark place, though, I was just in a self-sabotaging state when the period first hit. When the period got to where I was able to sit in it, it was actually one of the dopest fucking experiences I've ever encountered in my existence at this moment. So far. And the reason I say that is because I was able to dig beyond surface level. The skin, you guys, we have 3 layers of the skin, and I was able to get to that 3rd layer of skin and pull that shit off and really look at myself in a different lens, because I've never seen myself in a different lens. You know what I mean? So I had to hit that rock bottom, pull myself out of the equation to really look at myself. Yeah, definitely. You have to appreciate the process. And I didn't appreciate it when I was sitting there crying ugly by myself. I ain't gonna lie. But as I started to grow and really sit in that space, I started to not appreciate the process yet. Like you say, I started to trust the process. And when I say trust the process, it was like I took a lethal dose of medication to eliminate myself, and it didn't work. So it's like, I have to trust this fucking process that I'm here for a reason. Like, I wasn't allowed to end my shit right here, right now. I'm trusting that. And with my trust, it can't get any fucking worse than this. I already had a suicide attempt. You know what I mean? So it can only go up. But as I started to dig and, self-question, and a lot of my process in that dark space was to literally ask, I'm recalling all of my positive energy. I went back to that Reiki healing sessions that I had and things that my shaman taught me. And I paid an arm and a leg for that damn shaman because they were like private sessions. But I went back to that education. Oh, yeah. I went back to that education that was given to me.
I would have charged you a steak dinner and some lobster, girl. But go ahead.
I heard that's only for light skins. I'm just saying.
Well, a double bacon cheeseburger with fries.
At what point you were my foodie friend, man? Don't get back on no fat shit. All right, so I mean, stop distracting me, man. I have severe ADHD. But anyways, I really started going back to the education that I was given, and the education that I was given was all on a metaphysical and an energetic level. And I went back to that, and I started recalling all my positive energy and declaring that all of my negative energy that is not supposed to be with me, because you have to remember it's about balance. You have to have some negative energy to balance out that positive.
That's a fact.
So whatever negative toxic energy that's not suiting to me, and it has to go. And as I started doing that on a, day-to-day basis, I started to grow in myself, and that dark place didn't seem so dark anymore. And I honestly, I lost friends in the process. I lost characteristics of myself in the process.
Boom.
I lost
Yep.
friendships with myself in the process.
Right.
Things that I would befriend with myself were no longer cool. They no longer sat cool with my soul. And eventually, I got to the point where it came in waves, you know what I mean? So one minute I'm like on that dark side, next minute I'm like, no, I see a little bit of light, and then I would go back dark, so I had to go through that wave balance. As I started to come up, and you guys, mind you, I'm not fully there yet, but as I started to come up, and I wanted to get, you know what, Woon, I did journal entry through that dark ass period, and I
Hey,
wanted
on
to
my
get,
hey, look, I'm glad that you said that, because on my life, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I was going to ask you, especially for the people that's watching, did you have some type of way to express yourself, or a way, like, you know what I mean, like a creative outlet while you were going through that helped you get up out of that dark spot? So you were right on
I
time with
can't
that.
say I can't say that it helped me get out of that dark spot, man.
With the
I
journaling?
honestly, I can't say that it helped me get out of that dark spot, because
Okay,
I
go ahead.
haven't went back. And the reason I can't fairly say that is because when I got out of that, let me say it like this. When I got out of that suicidal state, I took that journal that I wrote all my stuff in, and I put it downstairs, because I honestly, I was afraid to revisit it. I was afraid to relive that. I was afraid to revisit it. Therefore, if it's in the garage and inaccessible to me, I'm not going to open it and, potentially put my mindset into a place where I'm going to dwell in that place again, because it was dark there and it was alone and I was afraid. You know what I mean?
So let me ask you this real quick. So what pushed you to even start writing in your journal during that time?
Honestly, what pushed me to do that was the Reiki massage healer that I went to. She
Okay.
goes, you have to release that negative energy.
Right.
And she didn't give me a format on how to do so, but she
Definitely.
said, once you release it, it's no longer with you. And then after you release that, start calling for your positive energy back. So my format that I came up with was to journal it. And initially what I wanted to do was journal it, rip it up, and throw it away. For whatever reason, because that was my letting go. You know what I mean?
I was gonna ask you, did you burn it? I thought you was gonna say.
Yeah, I was thinking about burning it.
Yeah, on my life.
I didn't, but I could smile about it now, and it's actually dope as fuck that I'm able to smile about it now, because I was so fucking dark and I didn't know who I was, where I was, I lost identity. And we have to really look at, the actual definition of identity. It is recognition of self, and I lost that. And I was afraid to go back to there, because I didn't want to get that dark again, right? Especially being alone. Mind you, I'm already going through the divorce stage at this moment as well. So I'm really alone, like physically by myself, other than my 6-pound Yorkie. And that was my release. But when I no longer felt when I lost the suicidal thoughts, again, I put my my journal book downstairs to where it was inaccessible to me, and that's when I really started to become the phoenix and rise above. You know what I mean? And that's when I really started to tap back into my spirituality, and literally, out loud profess that I am, and claim, that I need my energy back, and I need to get back to that spiritual me, and if I'm supposed to sit in this dark space, I'm okay with that now. You know what I mean? I'm at peace with that now. But motherfucker, you're going to guide me through this shit, because I ain't going to do this shit alone again. Right. So that's what I really started to call on, was just a protective part of me to restore me and come back to me, because I know how to protect me to a certain degree, but as I became that phoenix that was rising out of the ashes, I noticed that, with asking for that protection and asking for my spirituality to come back. And honestly, you know, I'm not about to gas you, but you know, you're really like one of my spiritual gurus that I can always call and be like, hey, I got this, or
Lobster and steak. That's all I'm asking for. That's
I
it.
owe you. I really do owe you. I do owe you because you did
No,
help
you
me
don't owe me
through,
nothing. That's good.
a lot of, if nothing else, a lot of interpretation and sending a lot of just loving energy from you, that it's like I couldn't send that loving energy to me at the time because I didn't even know how to tap into it.
Yeah,
But
nah. It's and let me I just want to interject real quick. And I'm glad that Trika said that we have the answer within. And while we're on this quick interjection, I want to see if people have questions for you that may
for
have,
sure.
you know what I mean?
For sure.
But I'm gonna she said lobster and steak. But one of my first the very first short film that I did when I got my camera, it was based on coming up out of a depression stage and shit, right? And it was my life at that time. Like I really documented my fucking life, like for real.
Right.
And I ended up titling it "Kill Off the Part of Yourself That Wants to." What I titled the shit? "Kill Off the Part of Yourself That Wants to Kill Yourself" and shit, right?
Right.
And so I basically I filmed the shit all by myself, starring me, directed by me, filmed by me, like all the shit, right? But but it was
I want to thank me for being me.
right. But it was it was like a real reflection, like, you know what I mean, of what I was going through at that time. And I was just sitting there and I'm, you know, because I'm in my shit and I'm just going through my shit and I'm looking around and shit and I'm, you know, like, man, what the fuck is this shit? Like, you know what I mean? Because first you be looking at shit, look at yourself, you smell yourself, you probably stink a little bit, like, you know what I mean? But it's just like, and then you just walk through your house and then you just looking at shit. Everything looks stupid. I swear, everything was looking dumb. I'm like, stupid ass dishes. Everything, like, everything was bad. Like, you know what I mean? So
because you become self-sabotaging. So
no, that's a fact. And then so I was sitting there and I'm weighing out my options. I'm like, man, it's just like you said, there's only two options. It's like, you know, it's either I can end this shit right now, or like when you get to that low, what else is going to affect you, shit, right? You ain't got nothing to lose.
That is the lowest.
Yeah. So then at that point, it's just like, well, nigga, did you try this? And I had to do this. I had to say, you want to know what, Woon? I didn't try that shit. Like, you know what I mean? So why haven't you not tried that? Is the answer that I got. And mind you, I had just now got my camera, so I'm just like, nigga, let me pick up this camera and let me document it. A lot of people don't even know that that was literally my life at that time when I documented that shit. Like, you know what I mean? But so what I did was, in the film, I showed myself I was coming in the house and shit, like, you know what I mean? Open up my refrigerator. The only thing I had in my refrigerator was some Hennessy and shit, right? And so I got the Hennessy, then I end up getting some pills and shit. And then I ultimately, you know, just take the pills, drink the Hennessy, and I die. I die on the couch. And then I end up getting up from that death. And then I go put on some, you know, I got fly and shit, like, you know what I mean? Go put on some fly shit. And then the next time I open up my refrigerator, you see greens, like, you know, you see all fruits and vegetables, and you see hella water. Like, you know, water is a representation of life and shit, like, you know what I mean? So then I take one last look at myself, like, on the couch, just dead and shit. And then I leave the house, like, nigga, you got to get up out of there.
It's a new life,
Like, hell yeah. So, you know, but that's where I was at. So, like, you know what I mean? So for me, and this is why I asked you about, like, a creative outlet, because, you know, sometimes we don't even tap into what we can tap into, because sometimes we don't even give ourselves the opportunity to do that. Like, you know what I mean? So then for me, I'm like, nigga, you got a fucking camera, you got a brand new ass computer, nigga. You know you sharp with this fucking shit, nigga. Go ahead and get this shit popping, like fuck everything else, like, you know what I mean? Because you get a certain level of bucket, like, you know what I mean? But
absolutely.
but that's
like a new burst of energy, though.
That's a fact.
When that bucket kicks in, it's a different burst. Oh yeah, for sure. I wasn't even at the rebirth yet, but when that shit came, it was impeccable. But it is a whole different. It's like catching that second wind on the treadmill, and you're like, motherfucker, I almost gave up because I almost died, but bitch, I'm going the extra mile. But
hey, yo, when you said you was looking at yourself in the mirror and you was like, who am I? That question right there is the catapult
to the expansion. You know what I'm saying? Like literally,
Right.
that is the question. Like, who am I? You looking at yourself, you have a body, you have a certain look, you know what I mean? But it's just
Right.
like that this is all physical. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Like that's the moment that you actually tap into your soul self. You know what I mean?
You know
Your
what? I'm
spirit
glad
self.
that you brought that up, Selfmade, because that was my pivotal point where I started to fucking change. Like
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
her right there. I don't know who she is, but I'm not associating that with me. Um, but just like you said, Woon, you know, as I started to ask for my energy back, and I started to ask for my negative energy that no longer soothes me, or you know, is needed for me to go, that's when I started to grow.
Right.
And as I grew, I only grew stronger. And
Yeah.
I started to literally, you know, and people are going to think I'm insane when I say this, but I have a homegirl who's a witness and is going through that. She's 2 weeks behind me in every single process that I just went through. She's 2 weeks
That's
behind me.
crazy.
And she's at the point
That's
right now
crazy.
where I kid you not, she texted me today and was like, I hate the way I fucking look right now. And I was like, trust the process. You have to go through it. It's like a snake shedding its skin. I'm getting out of this shit because it don't work for
Exactly.
me anymore. But you know, as I started to grow and elevate and get back into my spirituality and self, my physical attributes started to radiate beyond what they were before. And when I say this, I'm saying it in a way where literally my skin, you guys, I'm gonna be 40 in July. My skin has never looked as good as it looks right now. It was like my mental rebirth, my emotional rebirth, my physical rebirth, it all led into my actual appearance rebirthing. Um,
You got that shea butter?
what you gonna do with it? I mean, you making the lips like you know do something with it. Stop messing with me, man. But seriously, you know, I started to grow, and as I was growing stronger than I was when I was first in spirituality, you guys. Or you know, when I first tapped in with myself and self-proclaimed, you know, I'm a spiritual person. Um, but that relationship with myself and within myself, there's a difference between the two. Um, it got stronger and it got more loving and it got more accepting and it got more open and it I mean, I was at a stage where I'm just walking around telling everybody I love them, you know what I mean? And it drove my
Right.
daughter insane, but that's just where I was. And it's kind of like, you know, how you were saying, Wound, that depiction, your creative outlet. And I don't want nobody to bite my idea, right? But I'm gonna just go ahead and say it.
We're
I
trademarked.
have
It's good.
I have an actual depiction of my story. And those of you who don't know me, I'm heavily tattooed. And I came up with the concept of something that tells my story from the inside out, you know, what I lived and
That's lit.
what I visualized as I was living it. To the point where it's my creation because it's my concept and it's so dope that I will get it tattooed on my body so that it's an everlasting moment of my
Right.
experience. But in
Right.
my concept, you know, it's a tattoo or a sketch of a girl that looks as I look. You guys, you know, you can see my avatar. Um, and she's a little bit frazzled and tattered, you know what I mean? Like, you know, her hair is disheveled and she has like some slip marks on her wrist, but she's still popping though, you know what I mean? Like, damn, she got daddy issues, but I'm gonna still hit that, you know what I mean?
You hella
But
silly.
you know, so she's looking in a vintage mirror and she's pointing at the image that she's seeing in the mirror. You guys remember, I actually lived this moment.
Right.
She's pointing at, you know, the image that she's seeing in the mirror, and the image she's seeing in the mirror is just dark and just ugly. You know what I mean? And when I say ugly, I mean like soul crushing. There's no soul, and it's just it's a dark person, and I really have to be able to capture that. And I'm gonna send it to you when I get it down because I want you to be able to go back and put this out there. But as you know, the me version is pointing to the mirror and looking at my soul and seeing it just ugly like that. You know, the girl who's on the other side of the mirror, that's just like that dark, ugly person, is grabbing her hand and literally trying to pull her in into the mirror to that side. And um like I said, I became a phoenix and I got more in touch with myself, and I got more loving and accepting of myself, and I got more at peace with myself. You know what I mean? The good and the bad. And that's just, I went through the good and the bad. I went through the high and the low, and I had to experience that. But I had to die to exit that experience as well. You know what I mean? So I had to, as we're talking about death, you know, I had to, I mind you, I try to take my life in the physical flesh, but when I rose above, I had to die to that as well. Like, all right, we're not going to sit here anymore. But I had to die to exit that too. You know what I mean? I had to go through that low and hit that bottom. And medically, when we're looking at the word depression, it it doesn't have anything to do with the mental state of mind or a physical feeling or anything like that. The medical word for depression is to lower. And I'm gonna put it in the words of, you know, to elevate your feet, you know, you're raising them up. To depress the feet is to lower them down, right? Um, but there has to be truth with that, because depression, you know, and sitting in that low spot or that low frequency, it's a must. You have to experience that. You cannot have elevation without depression. They coincide, they coexist. So that's where I was at. You guys, I'm still a work in progress, but I'm Lala 2.0 because I came back stronger, right? But I'm still a speck out here, man, just trying to make it, you know, like trying to experience all that I can. But I think I sent you my one journal from when I rose above, right? Like when I finally knew I was out. I did send you that journal, right?
That's what I was gonna ask you. I know you sent me some shit. But did you? Because I was gonna say, because I know you said that you put like one of your journals like downstairs to where it was inaccessible. Did you ever? Do you have plans on revisiting that?
I do. I really do have plans on going back, but I think that I don't think that I want to go back to that by myself. Um,
The only reason I say that is because there's like a narrative that's out there that says, like, you know, you can't heal in the same environment that you got sick in and shit, right?
mhm, mhm.
I don't like how that sounds. I'm a opposite. I'm a fucking thug to the core. I'm a rebel. I don't you know, I just do shit different, right?
Right.
So my thing would be, if you cannot heal in the same place that you got sick in, are you really fucking healed? Can you really?
Well, let's stop right there, though. Let's
are you
even
who you
stop
say
right
that you
there. If
are?
you can't heal in the space that you got sick in, are you the creator of yourself? You know what I
Let's
mean? Because we know, I mean, we know medically the fucking body heals itself on a day-to-day basis. So
right.
why can you not heal that aspect of yourself?
Yeah.
The reason, honestly, Woon, you know I'm a scary ass person. Right? For those of you who don't know, I don't even watch horror films and shit. So I'm like literally, you know, debating with myself like whether I should actually crack that journal open and read it, only because I don't want to get afraid and be sitting by myself. But you know, I'm contemplating. I know I'm gonna go back and revisit it because I want to see where I was at that moment in time. I haven't figured out if I'm gonna do that by self or I'm gonna do that with somebody. Um,
To me,
but I know.
that's the level of reflection. I made a post about it.
Yeah, that's
Like, you
what
know
I
what
was
I mean?
thinking.
Like,
Mhm.
when I look in the mirror and I see some fuck shit, I be like, nigga, I'll beat your ass. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And I gotta say that to myself just to be like, so, you know, there be certain times to where, man, nigga, you was doing that then? Watch this. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So for me, it's just to make sure where I'm at. Like, cause
Right.
It might be.
I can't, and I'm gonna let you go, Self, real quick. And you
Yeah.
can't confirm, you know, and there's no confirmation in staying where you're at unless you test yourself. So
Right. I agree with that
you wrote that
100%.
shit. You wrote that shit down for a reason, if not just to get it out your system. But if you kept it and you didn't burn it, like I thought you was going to say that you did, if you kept it, that means that you want to revisit it. You understand what I'm trying to say? So it's there for you when you're ready, baby. It's ready.
And it's gonna be empower. I think it's gonna be an empowering moment.
That shit gonna
I agree with that. I agree with that.
It's gonna be like, God damn, like this is how I was, like especially where you at now. You know what I mean? It's like, well, like it's like how me and you won't be talking about what, like high frequency, or once you reach a certain place of consciousness, when you look back at your old self, you like, shit, I'll never see myself going back to that place. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think it'll definitely be empowering. And then even afterwards, it might make you want to burn it. Like, yep, it's let me read it, let me get it over with, and then send it out.
I agree 100%. And I never really looked at it like that. If I kept it, there must be a reason I kept it instead of destroying it. But I typically, what I do right now is I wake up and I write the first 3 words that come to my mind in my journal. But I did have a moment in it, it was on the 12th. Do you mind if I read it, you guys?
No,
I just now made a connection how you say journal, and I was journal. Am I bugging right now?
Right. But okay, I mean, it's a part of it. It's a part of it.
Okay.
But on the 12th, of March, I was sitting in my car stargazing through the sunroof, right? And I was just like, I just have to put this shit down. And it was just how I was feeling. I'll be quick, you guys. If hell was a real destination, the past few years I've owned land there. If an incubus is real, I've danced with him and experienced him. If self-sabotage was literature, I've been the author. If losing myself was needed, excuse me, I've died twice over. Death has to occur in order to rebirth. I am thankful for the journey as it created the version that exists before you. I am the beautiful piece of my own history and my own future. I am as strong as a lion and as delicate as a lamb. I am water and fire. I am wind and earth. I am moon and sun. I am a balance of both dark and light. I'm no longer crying in shadow and sorrow. I'm now releasing tears that are of liberation. I am no longer accepting soul ties to things that no longer serve me. I am in love with the entity that loved me even when I was numb to me. I am serenity. I am love. I am peace. I am free. I'm everything because I am nothing. I am. And then this is an ode to Woon for being my spiritual guru. Up, gang. I am letting those know. Well, it didn't say it like that. Don't do the fake tears. We don't do fake. We do real. I am, and then there's that pause. Up, gang. Like I'm up, y'all. Gang. I'm back. You know what I mean? But that was it. Really was a shout out to you for being there with me.
Hey, let me
finish, man.
Oh, well, goddamn! I didn't know you had more.
I am letting those know that have to experience the same, that there is tranquility with the chaos. There is joy in the pain. There is everything that is anything, and it's beautiful here. I'm sending healing and peace your way. I am again spiritually grounded in me, only better. I am me because I am. And that's literally what came to me, as I sat there and decided to journal. And it was just what came to play. There was no thought behind it or anything like that. It was just my words were flowing. But, with that being said, in that journal entry, how I said it's beautiful here, I can really attest to that because, like I say, you never really know who the fuck you are until you go through those challenges or until you're tested or until you test yourself, to be able to, number one, see that nothing can really tear you down like that, because you are the creator of yourself. You're the creator of your perception as well as your reality. I created that world and I sat in that world instead of suppressing it. I sat in that world instead of, just saying like, oh yeah, clinically I'm depressed. No, I'm not clinically depressed. I'm fucking low right now. I'm going through depression so that I can exalt. I'm not going to live here, but I have to sit here and deal with this and dwell in that. It was beautiful. It was scary when I didn't know what was going on, but you know, as I look back right now, it really was beautiful because it is that cocoon effect where you know you sit in that and you sit in that dark place, but once you're released, you release, and like Selfmade was saying, you know, you look back at yourself like, what in the fuck was I doing, you know, and where was I at? And I have the power to, you know, overcome that shit right there. But you know, not only do I have the power to overcome that shit, I'm not gonna go back to that shit. That old me no longer lives. You know what I mean? And that higher me is here, and that higher me, you know, can only get better from here. I don't smoke weed, Venus, if you're asking me that.
It's funny because you know a lot of people, you know, just on some regular shit, and I know it's like memed a lot, and a lot of people make a post about it, but they, you know, and they be like, and I remember who the fuck I was, and then you know shit changes, and it's just like, with us being eternal beings, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard to gauge who we really are. Like, you know what I mean? So we are only the experiences that we've been through, if that makes sense. Like, you know what I mean? So until you go through a certain experience, you really don't know who the fuck you are.
Absolutely.
But when you get through it, then you be like, oh nigga, that's who I am. So, you know, so
can I cut into that really quick?
You sure can.
With you saying that though, you know what I mean? It's like you don't really know who the fuck you are, and that it's facts, you know. Here I am, and you know, I'm working in a psychiatric hospital, and you know, as a psych nurse at that time, helping people with that, not looking at them like y'all motherfuckers tripping, but you know, I'm looking at them like, damn, how did you get here? You know what I mean? How did you get to this state of space? And only to find out I'm not above that. And I met that match, and you know, I sat in that shit, and
hey,
like I said,
that's the dopest shit ever. Cause you know, and
because
I'm
you don't associate yourself with them
with
kind of
shit.
people. You
That's
know what
a
I'm
fact.
saying? How did y'all must have grew up fucked up, or y'all like, I didn't have none of that shit. I grew up fine, and I went through that same shit. So
and that's the dopest shit about that is that just naturally, again, you know, with us being eternal beings, we want to experience all that shit, right? Even if we're making fun of somebody, you know what I mean? There's a small part of us that want to be like, well, what is that shit like?
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Exactly. And it's just like I remember saying this to myself some years back, like, nigga, I respect motherfuckers that has a quote unquote handicap that's on display, because them niggas ain't got nothing to hide. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have any ill intention. They are who they are on display, and they have no control over it. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, you can't fabricate that shit.
Right. So, you know, so when you get down to that level of sense, and like, well, you know, because me personally, my mind automatically works like, well, how do they think? Like, what are they going through? What is their daily life? Like, all this other shit. So, and I'm like that with a lot of things. So then it would allow me to try to embody what motherfuckers is going through. Like, you know what I mean? So sometimes I be so inquired about what's going on. Shit happens to me. I used to look at motherfuckers like on some real shit. I used to look at niggas with keloids on their shit like, damn, bro, like this nigga got a whole nutsack hanging from his ear. How does he feel? Like, you understand what I'm trying to say? And then I got a keloid, and I was like, oh, that's how that shit feels. Like,
that energy, bro.
That's a fact. Like, you know what I mean? But it was so
it's
dope.
That karmic flip of that universe. Like, you gonna balance this shit. You gonna wait when you watch that keloid.
I called that shit, and I was just like, hey, come here real quick. And but everybody knows I embrace that shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, niggas know I got skits when it come about Lloyd. Like, you know what I mean? So
for sure.
It's a certain level of, you know, let's go through the experience, and then like let's see what's popping. So naturally, even if we think that we are not supposed to go through something, as soon as we see something, or as soon as, you know, like if we see like whatever, just like you said, like, you know, we see something, like, I would never associate myself with that. But when you see it, it's a part of your reality. And then a part of your reality makes you think about certain shit, and that energy.
It questions how it feels to sit in that space.
Exactly. So
you know what I mean? Because you're so opposite of that at the time, where you haven't experienced it. So
right. So then you may have to go through it. And sometimes it's the dopest shit ever, depending on how you take it. If you know that you're the creator observator, participator, then it's gonna be a good ride. If you don't know any of those three things, and you're gonna be like, nigga, yeah, it might be over for me, baby. It's
right.
Right.
All you're doing is you're losing
Exit
yourself
stage
again.
left.
You know what I mean? If you can't realize that, you're already slipping away from who you are again, you know? And I'm not saying that I'm not going to slip away from me again, because there might be some other shit that I have to experience, and this isn't my higher self yet, you know what I mean? Or my highest self.
Yeah.
So I might have to be taken through lows, whether, you know, as severe or less severe, I don't know. But I'm ready for it. I'm ready to fight that shit out. I'm ready to sit in that damn space. You know what I mean? And like I say, it made me realize that as tapped into spirituality as I wasn't fucking tapped into spirituality as I thought I was. And equally,
damn, that was a
you know,
bar.
with that being said, I feel higher now than I was when I looked at old spiritual me. It's like, no, you ain't even cool. You can't sit with us, bro. You know what I mean? But I know it can only get better from here. Whether it has to get worse first, you know what I mean? That's just what it is. But you know, I'm ready to face that challenge. I'm ready to sit in that. And you know, people who are in the chat, you know, I just want to put this out there, like, man, love yourself, and I love you guys. And if you really, because I was at that dark point where I couldn't even go to my fucking self, so I didn't know who to go to. I mean, let me rephrase that. I didn't go to myself until I went to myself. But if you get to a point where you just don't know where to go to, man, Facebook message me. I'll sit there in that shit with you. I mean, I'm not going to live it with you, but I'll sit in there with you and, you know, listen to it, because obviously I'm here. Yeah. Those of you who don't know, I'm a professor now, right? I teach. I had to go through what I went through for whatever reason. So if I have to sit there and listen and teach or guide or whatever it is, I'm willing to do that, because I know how that shit feels. So
Yeah, no, we
just,
are.
you know, that's
we,
just like a little love token.
Yeah, no, we're super glad that the medications that you take did not work. Like, you understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Because I tell you this all the time, like, you know, when we first started tapping in, like, you know, and we was tapping in on a spiritual level, like, you know what I mean? Even though we went to school, you know, back in the day and shit, we didn't meet each other in this same type of space and shit, right? On a spiritual level.
Right.
So the reintroduction to you for me was the spiritual shit. And you was out busting your gun and doing all the shit, like in Facebook debates and all the shit. So I'm like, who's this? Like, you know what I mean? So even though you may have said, like, you know, I know that you said that you was tapped in spiritually, but me personally, I was already thinking that you was there back then. So now I am waiting to see this blossom of a new Lord that's gonna come through and shock the motherfucking world.
Allow me to reintroduce myself.
Hey, nah, but I definitely want to say, you know, super shout out to you, you know what I'm saying, for the work that you've been putting in, just the testimony of everything that you've been through, especially on the channel, you know what I'm saying? Like, cause that
hearing your story,
like it's way deeper than, you know, even just that within itself, you know what I mean? Like, so many people go through that, you know what I mean? And just to have a light to, you know what I mean, to kind of guide them through certain things, that, you know, there's nothing else you can ask for, you know what I'm saying? So, like,
well, with that, you know what I mean? I'm glad you said that, Selfmade, because I was just talking to my homegirl. Remember, I told you she's 2 weeks behind me in every fucking step that I went through. And I was telling her, I was like, man, you either need to come through and listen to the podcast, or you need to tap in to the podcast. And, you know, I'm going to go back to religion in this sense, right? I told her this is the best way I can explain it to her, is you guys have helped me through some shit too, not knowing, you know what I mean? Just being here, listening, having dialogue, having that energy, you know what I mean? Energy is big, it's everything. So even though we're in the virtual world, you know what I'm saying? I'm feeling your energy, like it's all love, it's all transparency, it's all truth. It's like, be who the fuck you are. And if you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you, you know what I mean? and that's genuine, and I fuck with that. And just by you guys doing this, having this podcast out here like this for people to listen, for people to voice their voice, you know what I mean? That's love in itself. And
definitely,
as I was explaining it to her, I said, if you look at it from a religious perspective, people go to church to feel good. You know what I mean? They say, hey, I'm going there to get God's word or whatever. Motherfucker, you're going there to get a goddamn feel good message. And it's cool. I respect that. You know what I mean? But equally, that's what I do here in this space. Even if I'm not a participant at the time, just going back, listening to people, going back and forth and being able to be open and, have educated, loving, open conversations and opposing views, you know what I mean? It feeds the soul. It just feeds the soul, man. To sit in this and just be able to laugh, joke, play, but hear people shit is real, man. It's real. And people go through stuff, and people are afraid to admit, that they go through stuff, or they're afraid to tell their bullshit side. But everybody want to be tax season ballers. Like, nah, motherfucker, you was eating ramen and shit before you got that check. But I see you though.
Yeah,
so go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, because this, and that's one of the main reasons that we call the Free Your Mind podcast. Because like I started this show off with talking about me not being able to shit. Like, if that's I don't have no cap. I don't have no cap. So when when people hear it, they I give it to them raw. I know Selfmade gonna give it to them raw. And this is your second time on here giving us stories, giving us your life stories, giving it to people raw. Like, you know what I mean? So sometimes, and I know that you said that that people don't want to address who they are, but sometimes they're not even in the space.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? To even get that shit off. Like, you know what I mean? So the platform,
they're not comfortable with self yet. You know what I mean? Once you're comfortable with self, you're like, look, I don't give a fuck what y'all think about me, because I know who I am. You know what I mean? So,
exactly.
But some people are afraid of being shunned. Some people are afraid, there's people who are afraid that they're the only ones going through that stuff. You know what I mean? And for a minute, you guys, I'm not even gonna lie, for a minute, before I even handed my husband divorce papers, right? I initiated the divorce. Before I did it, I was fucking afraid to do it. You know what I mean? And the reason I was afraid to do it is because I felt like I was supposed to be married. That's literally the only reason I didn't want to divorce him, because I felt like I was supposed to be married. And then I had to really, at this moment of time, as I was going through this darkness, I had to sit in that shit. And I was like, why in the fuck am I afraid to divorce? Like, I ain't the first motherfucker to divorce. I ain't gonna be the last motherfucker to divorce.
That's a bar.
And not just that, we were divorced before we were married. So let me hurry up and hand this shit to you, and please sign this shit and don't fight me in court on it. And that's how I got to that point where I'm just at peace as fuck with my decision.
I'm gonna start calling divorce deforced.
Oh yeah. Somebody's gonna force their way about that relationship. But when it's all said and done, honestly, I became so, the shit is gonna sound crazy as fuck, but I became so fucking at peace in that dark that when I came out of that shit, I was level-headed in every fucking thing I did after that. Because I found that place of peace while I was sitting in that shit. And when I came out of it, I was like, everything that's supposed to be happening is in fucking alignment with my movement, and that's just where it's at. And I'm cool with that. I don't have any regrets about sitting in that shit, dealing with it, trying to take my life. None of that shit. It had to happen.
Right. See, it seems like that even though you was in a dark place, you was the light that was in the dark.
Oh, for sure. It's within you. It's all within you. You are, the creator, participator, and what's the other one?
Observer.
There you go.
But yeah, no. So again, like we super appreciate you for telling your story. and they're just like you said, there's a lot of people that's afraid to tell their story because they feel like nobody else is going through it. But trust me, Selfmade said that he was constipated too. Selfmade told me the
story. Using the rice cakes and the protein shakes, man. But no, let me, even with that Woon, let me go ahead and say something. People are.
Look, man, look.
You said people are. He's so goddamn goofy looking. Like your laugh is contagious as fuck, man. You just gotta laugh the shit out with you. But you said it's a statement you said, and I know I said the same statement. People are afraid to tell their story. What it really starts with is people are afraid to tell their story to themselves. You know what I mean? They don't want to face that fact that that's what they're going through, and they're in that suppressive state. Once you clear that shit and you don't give a fuck, and you're like, man, this is what it is. It is what it is. But you have to be true to self, and you have to recognize and identify that that's what you're going through, and sit in that shit and go through that shit and rise above.
Yeah, no, that's again, man. Like a lot of people are afraid of the dark, and I did not understand what this what you call that shit what the fuck you call that shit? What you call it? Damn, Stevie Wonder got a song about it. And I always talk about the shit. A superstition, right? Mm-hmm. I did not understand the superstition. So when people were saying like, if you break the mirror, then you get 7 years bad luck, right? And then it clicked to me. It was just like, hold on, nigga, what the fuck is a mirror associated with? A mirror is associated with self. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just like, if you keep on avoiding what's in the mirror by breaking the motherfucker, then you're never going to be able to tap into self. So until you tap into self, you're gonna be going through some fucked up shit. So you're gonna be cursed. And then what it say? It take you 7 years. Every 7 years you elevate as a person. So the shit was so deep to me when I fucking broke that shit down. It was just like, you know what I mean? It was just on some crazy shit.
It be everything that's quote unquote negative or shadow, like the color black, like they associate certain shit with just the color black cats don't walk under a ladder, don't you know what I mean, like just all these different things.
Don't put your purse on the floor.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
I wear designer purses though. I don't put my shit on the floor. That's a different story. I'm a germaphobe too, so
right. But it just keep people away from those things, and those things is damn near like once you start tapping into the science of a black cat and why they used to have cats all around Egypt, and you know what I'm saying, like you start to see something different than what they try to tell you. You know what I mean? So like how you were saying, once you jump into the shadow self, you realize like, oh shit, like
absolutely,
this is actually lit in here. Like,
exactly. You know what? Exactly. And I'm glad you worded it just like that because, like I told you guys, I'm scary. I won't even watch scary movies, man.
Right.
Bird Box and Get Out stressed me the fuck out when I was watching them. Right?
Bird Box is lit.
But it stressed me out. It was a nail biter. But I've always been like that. I would, like Selfmade said, I was afraid to do any dark shit. Like I was afraid to sit in that space. I was afraid to experience that. Once I got there, that was a one bam motherfucking party. That shit was lit. I mean, lit as fuck. Right. And it like I said, I found so much peace in that space that the shit was just dope.
Real quick, I want to shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Want to get these Facebook shout outs real quick. So we got where we left off at. Oh yeah, we got my boy Creep in the building. We got Jesse Cardozo in the building. We got Asante in the building. We got Big Cousin E in the building. Mom's in the building. We got Flip in the building. That nigga Bruce. We got Duncan Blake, my nigga from out there in Memphis. What's popping, boy? We got Memphis in the building.
Okay.
Yeah, we damn near nationwide with this shit. We got cousin Cheryl in the building. We got Fred in the building. What's good, boy? We got T Piper in the building, Mitchell Raz in the building. We got Rick Roberts in the building. Hey, y'all sliding through tonight. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And speaking of slide through, we got Neff in the building. Boss, boss stuff.
Yes,
Yo,
sir.
what's poppin',
In
man?
the
What's
building.
good?
Hey, man, I don't know if your mic is turned off
mic.
or on, but I can't hear you.
Yo.
Okay, yeah. Oh, he was keeping it respectable. He like, let me, mute his mic. Yeah.
I was in my head for a minute. Hey, but I've been listening to everything. It's definitely been a great show so far, W's in the chat. I appreciate everybody tuning in. I'm here to have some fun. I'm here to rock it out.
I saw you with them products, man. You was stunned with them. I saw the video. Let me step my feet game up and shit
around this shit.
Big stepper. hey, it's dope because my nephew, man, prior to right now, he was like seeing motherfuckers on Facebook, and I know he probably saw debates with me and Selfmade was chopping niggas' heads off. He probably seen debates with me and you, Lord, chopping motherfuckers' heads off. Mm-hmm. So when he moved from Vegas to SAC, like, he automatically associated himself with like, well, what's this? Like, what's going on and shit? You feel me? Mm-hmm. And he was like a little sponge just soaking up everything and shit, right? And then it came to the point to where he was asking me certain questions. I'm like, hold on, nigga. You know what I mean? But the questions made sense. The questions really made sense. One of the ones that he asked me that kind of stood out at that time was was about some atheist shit. Not to shift the energy, but and then I was just like, yeah, I don't believe in a God or no devil. So, but then I had to reassess my answer because it was just like, nah, because there's other shit that atheists fuck with that I probably don't even fuck with. So, at that point in time, this is when when the I am understanding came in, because it's just like we're everything but we're nothing, because I can associate with an atheist, but that doesn't necessarily make me one. I can associate with Christians or Hebrews or Islams or whatever, but but because I'm everything. So like what I mean? But Neff came through and he was busting his gun, and then I seen him not only bust his gun online, he was busting his gun in real time with real people. Like, face to face, and it was calling me like, hey, these niggas over here, Woody Bow. I'm like, oh shit, this nigga out there, hey. And one of the realest things that he called me, he was like, nigga, because how to no disrespect to the Hebrews, because I know a lot of them, but them niggas that be on the corner, they be like, yeah, nigga, what you need to do
and
this.
They be deep in Vegas too.
Mortal Kombat suits and shit.
Facts. He was battling them niggas single-handedly. Then he called me. He was like, hey, this nigga was talking about this. And I'm like, put me on speakerphone, nigga.
You know what? Knowledge is power, man. And that's young life for you. You know what I'm saying? They're going to pick that goddamn gun up and like take off with it. And, you can't do nothing but appreciate that. So.
Hey, when I say I was really in the field, I was really in the field. Like,
that's right.
I got
it.
Right. Connect. So, yeah, no disrespect to those guys. Yeah, those guys are real aggressive. Israelites.
Zena said where they at in Vegas. There's like a little, all right, I don't know Vegas well, but I'm gonna tell you, there's like a spot that everybody goes to. Well, you might know, there's a spot everybody goes to after church on Sunday because they do like a fish fry and they sell barbecue and shit. And there's Muslims on one part of the street, and then them Hebrew Israelites be deep as fuck over there. And the first thing they do is, as soon as you get out the car, do you know your lineage? And I was like, no.
You know who you are?
Hey, I haven't. Hey, when he ran into the Hebrew Israelites, I think he was in SAC. But as far as in Vegas, I have not ran into no Hebrew Israelites, but I've ran into the Muslims, and I'm looking for a bean pie the next time I slide up on them niggas. Facts.
I'm telling you,
them bean pies.
I'm gonna find out what that place is because they're over there. But I mean, speaking about SAC, right? We got all right, Valley High, prime example. They be out there sometimes, man. Like,
they be in Valley High like a motherfucker.
Man.
You talking about the ones in the purple?
Yep. That's why I laughed when you said the Mortal Kombat outfits. That's
yeah. And they didn't slip. I remember one time we was performing somewhere like in South Sac, and they slid out there deep. They had the big speaker with the microphone, and people had to go over there and tell them like, "Hey, look, y'all doing a little bit too much. We got a whole stage right here with people performing this shit." They did not care. They like the word got to get out. Period.
You know what? Woon, there was that one. Do you remember you had me watch one debate with the Hebrew Israelites? It was somewhere on YouTube, man, and that shit went in. I'm talking about it went in to the point where it looked like they wanted to fight each other and shit. I was like,
yeah,
y'all hella aggressive,
boy.
Yeah, man, we got thousands of fucking videos that we could watch and share. So I don't remember the particular one, but that's kind of like, and they're even when they have, the people reading their Bible, they'd be like, "Hey, can you give me verse?" They'd be like,
That's exactly what I'm talking about, Woon. That's exactly what I'm talking about. And he was sitting there like he looked like he was uncomfortable doing this shit. So he must have been one of them new motherfuckers. Like, let me put my Hebrew feet on type shit. but I mean, the shit went in. It and it's all about perspective. And I never lived Hebrew life, so I mean, it was dope just to see the way that they're hella like devout and just in with the shit. But
yeah, but nah, where you at, nephew? You still where you at? I'll see the smoke there. I just want to have you touch down on what you feel as a young, you know what I mean, because you one of the youngest people that I personally know, that be spilling your spill how you spill, and because I personally know you, but I want just in case if the chat want to get an opportunity to see what the young life is about, like, you know what I mean, because you are the next generation that's coming up.
Well, personally, excuse me. Disclaimer: I am not. I am, but I got love for I am. I that's family, that's love, that's blood. But I wouldn't.
Well, he started that off with "I am not I am." I am not I am. Hey, you know me, right? Yeah. No, go ahead.
I just simply value information. I feel like information is key. I feel like information is without information, we wouldn't come to knowledge of anything that we know or believe or so on and so forth. So that's pretty much what I stand on. So I'm just simply an information junkie. Like I said before, I don't feel like no information is bad information. I feel like all information is good information. It just all depends on how you take it. So I feel like I can have a conversation and a build with anybody. It doesn't matter atheist or not, I am or not. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what it is. I can genuinely build a communication and absorb some type of information from that individual. That's pretty much what I am, though.
Yeah, no, definitely. And a part of that, because we talk about as far as on this I am shit, the ultimate goal would be the confirmation, right?
Right.
And I know I talk about the participation, the observation, and the creation. But all those things are directly and or indirectly associated with information. When you observe something, then you're observing that thing for information. When you participate, your participation is for information. Like, you know what I mean? When you create something, you're creating something for information. So all of these things are ultimately associated with confirmation, right? Which is the information. So you could say that you're not the I am. I get it. I understand you don't like the slang. I would say that you're definitely leading towards that, but you're definitely up game. Let's do that. You can't. Are you going? Okay. That's okay.
I mean, you just
we can rock with that.
You said what?
I said we can rock with the up game.
It's just y'all ain't persuade me enough yet. That's all I'm saying.
It's not my job. It's when you again, you still young life, like, you know what I mean? So when you get there, you get there. We'll be waiting.
He said he on the information path. You know what I'm saying? You can't. That's the path. You know what I'm saying? So
right.
Yep.
You know.
Facts. That's how you start, man. That's that rabbit
that's
hole.
it.
Everybody got to jump down that rabbit hole and shit.
Mm-hmm.
You got to unmute your mic, Neff. Unmute your mic. You got to unmute your mic, Neff.
Nah, he unmuted, I think.
All right, but so even with that though, let me go ahead and tell just let him know out there right now. He already is. He hasn't claimed it yet. You know what I mean? He hasn't spoken into existence yet. He knows it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's just
like
dope.
That.
It's just dope to see, experiences information. That's a fucking fact.
Yeah.
It's dope to see us being able to openly talk about like certain shit that's dealing with just in this instance, because of that we're gonna put it as far as information, right? Because I would like to say that the information comes from within, and the only thing that we're doing is testing that information by way of experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes down to that, when it comes down to the experience, and then we get to say, okay, well, this information was right, or this information was wrong, or this information served me, or this information didn't serve me by way of experience, right? But again, when it comes down to ultimately who you are, you can't deny who you are. Like, you know what I mean? Even if you wanted to deny who you are, in a sense, you would redefine who you are, and you're always who you are. So the I am, it's not going anywhere.
I like how you worded that though, because even going back to the analogy of identity, what is identity? You know what I mean? It's recognizing who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it just comes with a certain level of, again, and I'm waiting to see the new barriers that the young life is gonna come up with. I'm waiting to see the new barriers that that they're gonna knock down, from us passing the game around, like, you know what I mean? Like, and I know somebody said it earlier. I think it was Zenith Team. He was saying, like, or whoever it was saying that the information is within, and that's for sure. So, it's just a reflection of what we are. We are all a reflection of the same thing. So it's just like, what's your angle of life? How do you spill your spill, and does it stand to the test of what we're going through right now? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And again, as being evolving eternal beings, like, you know what I mean? Do we stay stagnant in one spot and just say we got it, or do we elevate, or do we evolve from that? And me personally, it would seem, if we're talking about evolution, but we have a stamp on saying that I am, or we have an understanding of who we are, it may seem like that's a contradiction of self, because it's just like, well, how do you know who you are if you're always changing? But we cover that by saying we're nothing and everything at the same time, meaning that, like, you know what I mean? So on every aspect, on every level, we can connect with everything. Just like Nev just now said, nigga, I could build with Muslims, Hebrews, whoever. I could build with anybody because I am, but I'm none of those things. So I'm nothing and everything at the same time. So again, he's going to hear this. He's not on right now, but he's going to hear this shit.
But I mean, even with saying that, you know what I mean? We have to experience all, you know what I'm saying? You have to experience all, whether it be, what you want to experience, what you don't want to experience. At some point, you're going to be, left to just deal with that experience and how you process it, and how it affected you, or how you allowed yourself to be affected by it, and what you took away from that, and that's everything in itself. You know what I mean? To experience some shit and to take away something from that, it brings it to completion. You know what I mean?
You really got to proclaim it. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like, you have to proclaim it. If you don't, you'll be stuck on the am I, you know what I mean, until you do proclaim it, because that's that moment of realizing, like you were saying, you can be all these different things, you know what I mean? Because you're everything. You accept being everything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
versus
that's why
they're like separating it.
It was so dope what you said earlier, Laura, when you was talking about who am I? Or you had a sense of nothingness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as you ask that question, then that means you're nothing. But
Mm-hmm.
and this is what I was telling, because I was actually teaching this shit at a point in time, and I was telling people who was asking, or because I hate to say students and shit, but I was teaching people who was asking, at that very moment that you ask that, and then you become nothing, and as soon as you become nothing, you become everything, because
Everything,
now,
absolutely.
yeah, because everything becomes open. It's just like, nigga, choose. Pick and
Right.
choose. Like, you got the option at that point in time to say, nigga, well, I'm this.
Absolutely.
I don't,
Exactly.
nigga, I'm that.
And just like Selfmade said, like, motherfucker, you ain't gonna go down from here.
Right.
It's the Matrix now. Shit, red pill, blue pill. Like, where you gonna go? Like,
It's a fucking
shit,
fact.
how the fuck do you get out of this shit? Or you know what I mean? But I mean, like I say, I was at peace. Like, that's the best way. I mean, I had to go through turmoil, of course, you know what I mean? But once I sat in that shit and accepted that shit, I was at such a peaceful ass place that I mean, people would say, like, oh, you went through hell. Like, no, motherfucker, I experienced heaven. Like, y'all don't even know it though. But that it just was what it was, and that's where I had to sit. I have some questions though, man. I want to know, Woon, like you said, we've been knowing each other since what, like junior high, something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Even, Selfmade, like both of you guys, what was your pivotal moment to where you were just like, man, look,
fuck all this shit?
Pretty much.
None
of this shit is real and it doesn't matter.
God damn. Well, you want to bust first, Self, or you want me to bust?
Yeah, I mean, for me,
I'm gonna take out my grill for this. No, go ahead.
Right.
You got it.
Yeah, no, for me, I was going through certain stuff, questioning religion. Like, I just had a lot of questions about certain shit.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember one of the rap homies, he had let me borrow Hidden Colors. And I went to the house and watched that shit. And like, I was like, I remember I gave a CD to my mom and my dad. I'm like, hey, y'all gotta watch this. The whole the letter J, like all these things was just popping up. And so I damn near went on a God chase of like, what's up with this shit? You know what I mean? And I was also around that same time, like I had came across Dr. Sebi as well. So like health and I just had hella questions. And that's when I came across shrooms.
You know what I like though, Selfmade, with that, you know what I mean? Because you see, being that you said you came across Dr. Sebi. Dr. Sebi literally worked at a cellular fucking level. So that's dope that shit just tied together like that.
Right. Yeah, that shit was crazy just to sync up. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, all right, yeah, I gotta figure some shit out. I need some answers. You know what I mean? I started meditating, eating healthier, you know what I mean? Because I was seeing like, okay, this can contribute to a clearer mind, a more understanding, all these different things, So I was going down the rabbit hole, and then I had an experience with mushrooms, and that was like my fuck it moment, because on everything I love, I thought I was up out of here. You know what I mean? Like I had took a high dose, and I started feeling certain shit just started happening, and I had to come to terms with that aspect, like, okay, I did this to myself. If I do go, you know what I mean? Like, I have to be okay with going, you know what I mean? Because in the moment, I was fighting it. I'm standing up, I'm feeling certain shit, I'm tripping, I'm freaking out. And it was just like, okay, what are you gonna do? You gonna run this whole time, or you gonna sit down and actually feel what this has to, offer? Yeah. So once I sat down, I was like, I had that fuck it moment. I was like, well, fuck it.
When you were there, though, can I ask, like, would you, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've never done shrooms, right? But at that moment, would you say that you were in a parallel universe? You know what I'm saying? Like, you knew you were like in a reality, but like you stepped completely out that fucking reality. Like, where was your thought process?
I see what you're saying. Being that I was off the mushrooms.
Even after, you know what I'm saying, when you came off of them and sobered down, you know what I mean?
Like, oh yeah, definitely. Like to me, I call it like what I consider is called the ego death. And yeah, I had that moment of just like afterwards, it was just like I was reborn. I felt like a whole nother person. You know what I mean? Like the way that I was thinking, the way that I was perceiving stuff, it was 1,000% different than before. And it was like a matter of hours.
That shit is so pretty as you're saying it, because that's how I felt. Like when I died, I came back.
Yeah, like for real, like some Jesus shit, like you was reborn,
resurrection,
and everything changed after that. Like it was like I can't look back. You know what I mean? Because I had that same question, like, who am I? I was looking at myself in a meditative state off these mushrooms, and I was looking at myself like, who the fuck am I? Like, I'm not this body. What the hell? Like, and it was at that moment that shit just started happening. My subconscious started trying to figure stuff out, and I started answering all these questions. My skin fell off. I realized I was nothing and everything. It was just this fucking crazy ass experience.
Hey, it's dope. What I mean? It's dope. It's dope that you say that you can't look back. And I have to quote a Bible scripture real quick. In Sodom and Gomorrah, when you already know where I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm saying it for the audience. So in Sodom and Gomorrah, because I used to hear the story as a kid and I didn't get it, but now I get it. But in Sodom and Gomorrah, like they were going through some shit, like you know what I mean. So they made it out of that, and then a wife looked back and she turned into a pillar of salt. So it's just like
her instruction though. What was her instruction though? Literally, the instruction was given to her: do not look back.
Don't look back, because what? Why?
For what?
Why do you? Why?
It don't serve you,
right?
Yeah. But yeah,
when
but
she
no, go ahead.
Back,
I
she turned
just
into a pillar of salt.
That bitch was salty.
Real salty. Yeah.
But go ahead. I just wanted to say that. My bad.
But yeah, like that definitely, changed the rest of the outcome for just, how I choose to live and how I perceive certain things, you know what I mean? But that definitely was my fuck it moment, like, because I thought I was for surely up out of here. And I got shown something totally different from that dark side than what, I was running from.
Yep. You know what? I like that I'm hearing like your story, because it's similar to mine, but in its own ass way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why when you were saying it, I'm just like, oh, I can relate to this in so many different ways. And
like mine was, yours was like induced, you know what I mean? Mine was also induced, but on some emotional or you know what I mean, whatever type shit. That's
right
dope.
there. And it's dope because I think Lord, one of the last bills that we was having, we said that even though we chose this life before we got to this life, right? That there's a certain thing that's going to transpire us to get to that spot and shit, right? So it's dope to hear the different things that was that turning point, like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, like the shit was crazy because for the people that's out there that don't know, I was raised Jehovah's Witness and shit, right? And so there was a lot of things that naturally didn't sit with me. As far as how they run they fucking shit. So but then again, I'm gonna say that they had some shit that was also, I get it, like you know what I mean. There was like especially when you get older, like they don't celebrate holidays and they wasn't fucking with the flag. Like these niggas don't fuck with like a lot of shit. But for me, it was just coming up, just seeing what other motherfuckers was doing. Like what is everybody doing? Like you know what I mean. Like on some real shit, and then just having that street tie, like I was tied into the streets and shit. So just being into that street tie, and I was just like looking at that shit, like okay, so I guess in this nowadays, I'll be like, well, who is the ops and why are they ops, and what's the situation with these niggas and what's going on? So when you start having those questions, then you start looking, because naturally. When I was young, it wasn't just, you know what I mean, niggas in my situation or niggas that was banging Crip or none of that shit that was going through some fucked up shit. It was Bloods too. Pyrus too.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Mexicans too.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? So everybody's going through the same shit. So what the fuck is popping like with that shit? Like, you know what I mean? So when I started studying the Panthers. I started studying the 60s and, you know, all the movements of the 60s. But I was hella, you know, influenced by the Panthers and all the shit. And, you know, the Black Liberation Army, Black Panther Party, the Weather Underground, like all of these different radical movements. Cause it's just like, nigga, Crips ain't just popped up out of nowhere. Like, you know what I mean? Like, especially knowing what it means on the acronym level, you know, community revolution and progress. So I'm like, when I found that out, I'm like, hold on. So these niggas got some type of Panther ties. Like, it sounds like the same shit as far as the revolution part of the shit, right? So then when I started finding that shit out, I'm like, oh shit. And so I kept on digging there. I'm like, okay, so what the fuck was the Panthers about? Like, you know what I mean? So I got to, you know, just digging about the Panthers and shit. And then like, I'm like, oh shit, well, these niggas was on some anti-government shit. Like basically not more or less anti-government, but pro the people. Like, you know what I mean? So, you know, the oppressors was, or the ops was the government. So that's, you know, that's how they ran their shit. But so, you know, I'm fucking with them and shit. And then, you know, so for a long ass time, I used to have my fucking black medallion, my black medallion and shit for years. Like, you know what I mean? And I was rocking with that shit. Like, you know what I mean? And even though I was still in the streets and even though I was still doing certain shit, like I was still studying, you know, what they had to offer and shit. And this is from the 60s. Like, you know what I mean? So, so I got to that point. I'm just like, yeah, you know, what they was going through was dope because they was trying to do what was hip at that time. Like, you know what I mean? Later on, I found out that they was on some communist shit. And I guess a lot of them didn't have any religious ties. They was just, nigga, we doing this shit right here, right now. Fuck a prayer, fuck all this other shit. We finna do this shit. Like, you know what I mean? So that was another thing. I'm a natural rebel. Like, you know what I mean? I'm naturally rebelling against what don't serve me, right? But so then when I got past that point, then it's just like, okay, so all right, I get what they were going through, but and no disrespect to them, but they had a certain level of, I don't want to say cap. When I say cap, I just mean that they had a certain cutoff point to where, like, you know, at the end of some of their shit that a lot of them wanted to join with the government. So I'm like, okay, so y'all did this whole fight to not be with the government just to join it. Like, you know what I mean? So, but that was their way. Like, you know what I mean? So no disrespect to them, but that's how they seen it, you know, the best way suited for them. So then I'm like, okay, so there's something that's deeper than that. What the fuck is this government about? And so when I got to questioning the government, this is when the Illuminati, as far as my time, was heavy. So then I went down that rabbit hole, and I'm like, what the fuck is this Illuminati shit? Like, you know what I mean? So I was going through that shit, and I was reading certain shit. I watched hours of documentaries. I watched days and days and days of shit, and I'm just like, okay, these niggas ain't nothing. On it, like, you know what I mean? Like, just to me, like, you know what I mean? Just to me, it was just like, when I found out that a lot of the symbology that they use was just on some shit that was already there. But you know, they put it out like as if it's just like what Selfmade was saying earlier, like with the darkness of certain shit. And it's just like, okay, well, if it's dark, so that means people are going to be scared to go, you know, go to that side. So it's just like, okay, well, if you're scared of that, then that means you're now putting a cap or a limit to yourself. So I'm like, well, let me go see what these niggas is talking about. So when I started studying what they had, you know, there's supposed to be a secret society, but I found out that the only secret is that there is no secret. Right. And when I found that shit out, I'm like, oh, there is no secret. Like, they're only putting it out there to niggas who want to believe that it's a secret. So when I found that out, I'm like, oh, these niggas is okay. But the level of intelligence that, you know, that the Masons have, or that, you know, certain people, the light bearers, Illuminati, you know, all these things dealing with being brilliant, right? Dealing with the light. You know what I mean? So it's just like, oh, well, these niggas is up on shit that niggas is scared to go. Like, niggas is scared to get the information because they listen to somebody, or niggas got fadangle, and niggas was like, oh, well, yeah, we finna whoever thinks that this shit is scary, it wasn't for them anyway. So I'm like, yeah, nigga, well, let me go down there and see what's popping. Like I said, I'm a natural rebel, so I want all the smoke. Like, you know what I mean? So when I got past that level, I'm like, oh, these niggas ain't shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I could get with them niggas on any level. Like, talk to me about anything. Like, you know what I mean? I get with them niggas on any level. But so then when I got to the end of that stick, I'm like, okay, so if these niggas is on some fake devil shit, who the fuck is God? Right? On some real shit, because they was associated with some devil shit. So I'm like, well, if that's right, if that shit is false, then who the fuck is what's the opposite? I'm an opposite dude. So what the fuck is opposite? So who the fuck is this God shit? Like, you know what I mean? And at this point in time, I had let go of religion, right? But I did not let go of the ideology of a God outside of myself, right? So I'm just sitting there and I'm like, hold on, wait, what? And so then I got the question and I got to like asking shit, like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, well, what's this shit about? Like, what's all this shit? And, you know, just to bring it back full circle, again, I was raised a Jehovah's Witness. So I had to talk to the chief, which was my grandma. You know, she passed on and shit or whatever, but I asked her, like, you know what I mean, like certain questions, and she tried to give me the same answers that she used to give me when I used to question that shit when I was a kid. And I said, look, grandma,
we ain't gonna do that.
Wait. Hey, I'm grown right now. Hey, I'm already have my own light. Don't get that shit twisted.
Right.
I have my own light, but I'm gonna give you. I hate to say it like that, but I'm gonna allow this time for you to spill your spill on why you kick this shit how you believe it. Like, you know what I mean? And she sent me to a .org. She was like, well, just go to the .org and they're gonna have the answers for you.
Just do.
Man, look, hey, you silly to say that shit. People don't get that bar. No Selfmade get that bar, what you just now said, but it's real. That it just do factor don't sit with me.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? So at that point in time, that's all I needed, because all of my elders, my mom, my aunties, some of my uncles, like, you know what I mean? All these people have been, you know, under that same indoctrination. So at that point in time, if I'm talking to the chief, you feel me? Like, then can't nobody else tell me nothing at this point in time.
Right.
So it's just like, well, nigga, what shit? Well, nigga, well, Woon, you already got what you got.
Right.
And just like you know, when you get closure from a motherfucker from a relationship, like, bitch, how come it didn't work?
I overloved you.
Right. And then they be like, oh, well, this is that's what it was. Oh, so what? Oh, okay, yeah.
Right.
Well, watch this. And my watch this turned into, nigga, you know, again, it's just to that I am level. Like, you know what I mean? And I have to say this part, when I was under the indoctrination of religion, I did not understand the Bible. I didn't get it.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? But when I said fuck everything, and then I came into this I am shit, the Bible became so fucking clear. Like, it's just like, nigga, like, oh, because I'm in my own bag.
Yep.
Like, you know what I mean? And when I say that, there's nobody who told me what scriptures translate to. Like, you know what I mean? There was nobody who actually broke this shit down in a way that I needed to hear it.
Interpret it. But you didn't look back. You know what I mean? So you weren't blinded by the shit. You didn't look back.
Exactly.
You know?
I ain't dealing with, hey, look, if I look back, I'm laughing. I have the greatest sense of humor ever. So when I look at that shit, and no disrespect to nobody who still is indoctrinated by it, but when I look at certain shit, I be like, okay, so niggas got to put in that work, because I put in that work.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That work is bananas.
You know when somebody putting in the work.
Man.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You can see that transition. You know what I mean? You see the transition in them for sure. I know that I'm reading a book right now, and it's based off of Toltec teaching, which is like an ancient, you know what I mean? Like an ancient tribe of Mexico that would gather at the pyramids or whatever. And I like the way that he, you know, the pyramids derive energy, right? But the way that he worded a certain thing is that, you know, people associate hell with being, you know, inflamed or in an uncomfortable setting, you know what I mean? But the way he wrote hell out, you know, visually was, you know, you're sitting in hell when you're sitting enslaved in your mind. You know what I mean? When you achieve heaven is when you break free out of all that and you're just like, I'm not going to sit here anymore. You know, that's when you're finally free. So it was.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I like the depiction of hell, right? In terms of the flames, because ultimately when we're spilling out, when we're putting ourselves on display, we're in the hot seat.
Right.
Or when when we put ourselves to the test, nigga, we want all the smoke. Like, you know what I mean? So all of these
Let me
things
even
are
add on to
associated
that
with that.
though. Let me add on to that because to
You know,
purify shit, you gotta burn that shit.
Go through
And when it
that's a
comes to,
fact.
you know what I mean, just like metals and stuff like that, to purify, or you have to burn it. It has to go through that fire. So.
That fire, hell yeah. So
It's
the
that
idea,
symbology, boy.
the idea of hell, again, just like that, just bringing it back full circle, the idea of depression, the idea of hell, it sounds horrible, but it's
Right.
just like, nigga, ain't nobody putting yourself in hell but you, period. And it's up to yourself to get yourself out of hell. But when you come out, my nigga, just like the phoenix, what is the, go ahead, Laura, explain the
Rises over
phoenix.
the ashes.
Thank you.
But you know what? Even how you just said that, people think that it's a horrible place, and it sounds terrible. I was in hell in my own body and in my own mind, and that was the most peaceful fucking place I've been. So it's that disillusion or the illusion. I'm sorry that oh, you don't want to go there, you don't want to be there, you don't. No, I sat in that shit and I was at peace, and I don't know if I want to go back yet, but I had to go there, and it was beautiful. It was peaceful, and I was able to, sit there as long as I needed to sit there. But when I became that phoenix and rose up out of them ashes, oh baby, I'm back.
Man,
Right.
hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Kind of like Dre over there. Yeah.
Hey, shout out to the chat, man. We got hold on, before we got Benet in the building.
Peace to the fam.
Definitely. We got Tyrone Hadley in the building. One of the regular.
Back again.
Yeah, regular.
Hey,
He's a regular.
do any of y'all
We
know
got-
Zenith?
No.
Not personally, I don't think so.
I was thinking, well, when he said archons, I was thinking it was the couple of loser
some
guys.
Loser guys, yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking it was him. He
Hey,
came through
with
in
that-
the alias.
Hold on, real quick. So we got God Gift Thompson was popping, Umar King was popping, Lisa was popping. Like, you know what I mean? Again, I feel good to be off ankle monitor. Like, you know what I mean? These niggas is letting me breathe. And it's Gucci. Oh, he came in, he said, that's me. Hold on, wait.
Oh,
that's
him.
me. That's me being that you're a couple of loser gods.
Bruh, he the only one that ever used the word
The archon.
archons, bruh. As soon as I seen it, I was like, wait up, hold on.
Yeah. I was laughing early when I seen it.
I know, me too.
Laura was spilling her spill, and I'm like, archons? I'm like, hold on, wait. We
Yeah.
Oh, that is him.
Yeah, what's up with bro,
Hey,
man?
you gotta come on the show, man. We're gonna talk about these archons, because the archons.
Yeah, we're gonna have to create a whole show for it, man.
What's that? What is that? The fucking an expression itself. That's what we're gonna say. But it's that's dealing with what do you call it? What's that specific there's a specific religion group that's not quite Christians, and I can't even think of the shit right now. He probably typing in the shit.
He said they not crack. Oh,
they're fucking it's I'm so high right now. I'm just drawing blank. He said self but different realms. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
yeah.
So when you Gnosticism, thank you. Gnosticism, thank you. That's what I was trying to say. Thank you. So he said Nazarene sect. Okay, so they probably do it too, but Gnosticism is what I was trying to say. But Gnostics, they have a dope ass ideology. I'm gonna keep it a band. Like, some of the shit that they be talking about, because I had to study that too when I was going down the rabbit hole, and I'm like, oh, these niggas on some different shit. But to me, the archons is just another, because I don't know if you saw the show when I was talking about Noah's Ark, but archons, like, you know what I mean? If you can make that connection and all that shit, but they would seem like the higher ups to where, like, you know what I mean? Like, we can't get past that level and shit, right? But it's hella funny. It's hella funny because it's only us that's allowing us to, just like Laura said it 1,000 times. Well, I allowed myself to go into the space, or I allowed myself to such and such and such. So it's only us. Like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I like the ideology of an archon. I like it.
Right.
He said they suck it.
Hey, yeah, we gotta get bro on here, bruh.
Definitely. But
He was
yeah,
on-
so I'm sorry, go
He
ahead.
was on the first show.
He was. Hey, he came. You want to know what? He came busting his gun, and I was like,
He did on the first one.
under a couple of loser guys.
Yeah, that was the
So
one.
now,
yeah.
so now I'm making the connection. So every time we see you, now I know what it is.
Yeah.
But definitely we got to get you on. But shout out to the chat, man. And again, we're gonna bring it back full circle. Initially, you know, because we veered off and shit because we're just building at this point. But initially, we're just talking about you know, depression and talking about, you know, how it shouldn't be put in a negative connotation or a negative energy, and it should be something that should be deemed as a rite of passage. Like, you know what I mean? It should be deemed as something like, nigga, yeah, we finna go through depression. Like, it should sound like a fucking vacation, literally. Like, you know what I mean? It should be like, oh, we finna go to the. Y'all can't come though, but I'm finna go on this vacation and shit real quick. Like, you know what I mean? And then we gonna see what's popping. Like, you know what I mean? So, and again, being depressed. Think about something, being pressured about something or being pressed about something, and then you trying to depress. Like, man, I'm trying to get free. I'm trying to get open, baby.
Right. Absolutely. Well, you guys, I gotta go pick my child up from work, so I'm gonna get on the live though, because I know you guys are still gonna be in here, going back and forth. But I'm gonna sign out. But I love you guys. It was a blessing to even be able to share my experience.
Thank you.
And you know, self-made. I might have to give me some shrooms or something. No, just
For real. You know, let me know.
But you know, I like hearing that perspective, and you know, equally bringing it all the way back. You know, how you were just talking about the depression and people associate it in a negative stigma. But you know, you just got to know, and even just hearing how everybody hit their pivotal point here on the panel is, I mean, shit, we all go through it. You know what I mean? You hit that moment. Woon shared his moment of, you know, hitting that depression moment, but we, you know, all were able to rise above, and that's the dopest shit ever. But
yeah,
you know, it was an experience that you had to experience.
On my story, when I was trying to promote the show tonight, and I gotta give shouts out to Gangsta Dre. He put out an album in 1998 or 1999 called Inner City Poet, and he had a song called The Great Depression. Oh, that's Laura. Who said that?
That was me. That's my shit right there.
Man, hey, look. So
we headed for a warp zone, but can't nobody
but me. Hey,
you know I'm gonna say you.
Hey, man, look. Hey, just that album. Hey, shout out to generation. Hey, look, that album is so fucking dope. But he put out a song called The Great Depression, and if you look at my story right now, and there's a on the last verse, he opens it up with saying, I'm talking about depression. Everybody gonna feel it, and at one point in time in your life, everybody gonna deal with it, but don't break down, stay real with it. If you can feel this, just kick on back and watch a real ill nigga spit, because I've been through what you've been through, and believe me, nigga, I know. Trying to hide the pain behind the weed and drink, but believe me, nigga, it show. Hey, but that's hey, that nigga, hey, Gangsta Dre was ahead of his time, so I got to do that. But sure. on the story, that I got the link to the song on the story, but that song, Gangsta Dre, is like one of the hardest niggas in sack, hands down. Like, you know what I mean? But I chose that song on my story for a reason, to promote this show, because it was right on time. Like, you know what I mean? So shout out to Gangsta Dre. Back.
I actually, you know, that I didn't see the link or anything, but earlier I checked your story, and I like that picture that you put up there, because it equally, you know what I'm saying, it resonated with me, with the dude, you know, the girl sitting there crying, and then dude's whispering in her ear or something, and it's like, you know, just because she's a warrior don't mean you got to take her through war, and that shit was tight. because a lot of people don't understand that. You know, the shit just resonated. I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for letting me get on here and shoot my shit.
That was for the ladies.
You gotta have a deep voice. Get all close and muffled.
If I could adjust my light right now, you know. But thank
you gotta
you.
deal with the fur coat, man. You gotta put the fur coat on.
I got. Okay.
Did you really look up to see where I was? I ain't fucking with you.
No, I'm looking at my light.
I thought you was like, is he close by or not?
You got that mug on standby.
But no, Laura, we super appreciate you for coming to spill your spill.
Definitely.
It takes a lot. And no disrespect to nobody because we have an open platform, but sometimes people don't tap in with that part of just the release of themselves. Mm-hmm. And that shit is so important. Even if you're not a part of the panel, just being on the chat and telling your story, or even here, just writing your shit down, getting it out and expressing yourself, like going through that shit. And it's just so the new life that you get is so fucking dope that it cannot be explained. We try our best to explain it right now, you know, through words, but it's a feeling, it's an emotion that we cannot explain. Like, you know what I mean? So we try to, and we try to make best of it, and we try to be funny about it, and we try to be serious about it, and we try to be sincere about it. But until you do it, you probably
you gotta live it.
I'm gonna go give me some shrooms and read my journal entries for. I'm just playing.
It would have been a lit night.
I'm gonna watch Get Out after that. No. All right, I love you guys. Thank you so much for having me on. You know, my word, like I said, I made that declaration. You guys, if you don't have nobody to turn to and you're going through this shit, please hit me up.
That's a fact.
All right, love you guys.
Peace. I love you too, lady. Enjoy your night.
All right. Who told me to go to hell? Why I gotta go to hell?
Hey.
He said, go ahead and dive head, head first in there.
Yeah, now that I know who that is, yes, go to hell. He can say all this shit you want. Now that I know who it is. Yeah. First, I was just like, who is it?
I swear, I was looking at the comments and how they was responding. I'm like, bruh, a couple of loser guys was kind of doing that. You know what I'm saying? I started making the connection.
Definitely.
But
but this show is fucking dope, man. And again, I know that there was let me go because I'm trying to interact with Facebook at the same time, but I know that somebody had asked me a question before we even did the show.
Oh, okay.
And they were talking about the people who find comfort and staying in that. And when I say and I think what they meant by the comfort part was just to say that, like, they're not really trying to attack, not trying to tap in with the spirit when they're in that dark zone, because they're just looking for attention at that time, or it just suits them to rather be in there. Like, they're not really ultimately dealing with it. They're just staying in it for whatever benefits that people may come to their aid at, as opposed to them actually doing the work while they're there.
Like using it for whatever it is that they want, but not actually, not putting it to work for themselves and shit.
Definitely.
Yeah, I definitely could see that too. You know what I mean? Like, they see what they can get from it. You know what I mean? And they use that as the benefit. But I still don't see how you could just like sitting in that shit though. Like, you could it's almost like you could half like it because of what you can get from it if you was to, utilize it like that. But then you got that flip side where it's like you still really depressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And see, at that point in time, because if you Again, like what I was trying to say earlier with the spirit talk part of it.
Mm-hmm.
The spirit is what set your ass down.
Right.
Your ego or the human side of it is what's going to make you take the shit for granted. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because like on some real shit, you may get some sincere people. You may have some sincere people that's in your circle that's like, oh, you're going through this? Well, let me cater to you. Or you're going through this? Well, let me make sure you're good. Or you're going through this? Well, let me make sure, like, you know what I mean? So there's people, and there could be people like, oh, you know, this is my time to get the attention. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? So it's just like, and I think that's what, and I think it was Brittany who said that. I sent her the link so she could come in.
And that's making it worse. It's debilitating. You know what I mean? It's like,
that's a fact.
Kind of like what we was talking about before. Like that's going to create a bigger boom when that shit do come to the surface. You know what I mean? Or when you actually want to deal with it. So
yeah.
Then you got to deal with that aspect too. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
because then you know it's a cry wolf factor. Okay, he said vampires. Okay, I was gonna say it's a cry wolf factor that comes into that because it's just like, you know, at a certain point in time, niggas is really gonna leave your ass when you really, you know what I mean? Not because, you know, again, when you go through that stage, it's to the necklace, but at the same time, like, you know, there is certain people that will help you see the light. Like, you know what I mean? So if you crying wolf, niggas gonna be like, all right, we ain't fucking with it like that.
And Benet just dropped the bar. She said some people use depression as an attempt to oppress others.
Oh shit, that was a fucking.
It's like that. Bar. That's like that. Misery loves company. You know what I mean?
Fact. That's a fact.
So yeah, that's a bar right there for sure.
Like, yeah, hey, we dying, right?
So come over here.
Come on, yeah.
You dying? How I feel? Right. You just gonna leave me over here just to die?
Right. No, nigga, I'm living right now. You gotta. Shit.
They're trying to make you feel bad and shit. That's how you gonna do me?
They just do.
I see you over there, fam. All those is real things. But like you were saying, you know, at the end of the day, it all comes back down to self and putting in the work, sitting in, you know, whatever that is, that's causing the pressure. You know what I mean? And releasing that shit.
There was a bar that you said in Diamonds, I think it was Diamonds, when you talked about the lotus flower. And, you know, and that's again, another synonymous thing, you know, that deals with, you know, the lotus flower. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it grows in the muddiest, dirtiest, you know, environment, but it blooms and it blossoms into, you know, a fucking lotus flower. Like, you know what I mean? So that's it's just like, you know, so just coming from that, man, it's just like, you know, just thinking about it, it may seem like the place not to go or not to be, but at the same time, nigga, that's the motherfucking spot.
It's the spot. It is the spot. For real. Realize it. Too many realizations come into that place. You know what I mean? You finna realize a whole bunch of shit in that spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Even another thing about, you know, about your song Diamonds, fuck they come from.
That pressure, right? Exactly. Everything. And hey, for real, it's like how they be saying, you know, like some of the people that go through, you know, some of the most craziest things come out, you know, the brightest when it comes to light, you know, shining light and shit. You know what I mean? So
man,
that's really what it is. You know what I mean?
And that's what I was trying to tell Laura. At that point in time, when you go into a certain state of darkness, there is no light around. So you have to literally become the light. Yeah. You have to become that. So, you know, and that's why I say it's so dope when you come to that, because again, you know, there is no guidance. There is no, well, you know, drop some shit on me, because nigga, you're in your cocoon. Can't nobody penetrate that shit. Like, you know what I mean? So you're in your own little space. So it's just like, nigga, you can't receive anything and nothing is going out until you break up out of that shit. When you break up out of that, then it's different. Then somebody can shoot some shit, or then you can push some shit out. But until then, it's just like, okay, my nigga, like, all right, y'all keep y'all.
You gonna break out of it,
No,
you gonna have to break out of it anyway. No matter which way you try to, you know, you try to get out, you gonna break out some way.
That's a fact.
Whether you feel me, through the bottom or nigga through the top.
Yeah, and like, you know, it's just so dope, because the sense of individuality that comes from that shit. That shit is so fucking fire, man. And the sense of self, just the oneness. And then
that part.
And then, you know, when I say the sense of oneness, you know, it's a double entendre because it's like the oneness with self, and then it's the oneness with everything. Because then now, just like Laura said, like now I can be a beacon of light for niggas that's going through this depression stage. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've been there and I can do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, hell yeah. So it's again, you know, just to reiterate, like to me, depression is like being unpressed, being free, being like, nigga, I was lost, but nigga, I get it now. Like it's good. I'm free. I can move. I can stretch. I got all this free space, and I'm in myself.
Facts.
Like, you know what I mean? And
you no longer stuck.
Yeah, you can't express. I mean, we try to, but you can't express like how that shit feel. Like you have to go through it.
Yeah, nah, you got to go through it to create your new self, in a sense. And you think about the diamond. Like if you was to look at a diamond up close, hella close, on the inside, it got all those different angles and shit. You know what I'm saying?
Bar,
bro. Different angles. That's it right there, and that's like it's like the realization of like, okay, I could put myself in my perception in all these different ways and shapes and angles, and you know what I'm saying? Hey, that shit real though. You know what I'm saying? Once you go through that pressure, you create that part of yourself to where it's like, you know, you could look at everything like you were saying. I could chill with the atheists, the Hebrews, the scientists, you know what I'm saying? And they all might be like, hey, you a scientist, but I ain't finna say I'm a scientist. I'm everything, you know what I'm saying? Or I'm all of that, you know what I mean? So yeah, that shit cold, bro.
Ooh, that was so much of a bar. Yeah.
Light body for reals.
Yeah, but that shit is crazy. He said refined diamond body. Yeah, that's a fact.
Yeah.
Refined. But it's again, like, you know, I love it, man. It's you know, this was definitely a good topic. Good night, man. Good energy.
Yeah.
Shout out to the chat, man. Because I think they was going like the whole time. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
just
they've
like,
been rocking.
Still, definitely.
Yeah, they've been rocking.
Yeah, so we might have to do like a fucking, because I was trying to get a Q&A for Laura, in terms of, you know, what she was doing and how she was able to pull herself up out of it. Because again, but she did put it on display that, you know, that there was a certain point in time to where she was like suicidal on some shit. So, you know, there may be some people that's in that stage that may want to like, well, what you know, what took you against going to, you know what I mean, like taking that level, like, you know what I mean, or seeing something beyond that. So I definitely wanted to have a Q&A with her, but again, for the people that's watching, like, if you guys have any questions, like,
we're going to do a Q&A and just, you know what I mean, just have a panel up and just, you know, go in on just all types of shit. You know what I mean? That'll be lit.
Yeah, and that just goes back to the show that we were trying to have last week.
Yeah, right.
To where, you know, we just have like a open state. Like niggas is so open, man.
I think it's that time, man. It's that time. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Like niggas is so open.
Q&A, bring a couple of loser gods, Zenith. You know what I'm saying? Heme in the building. You know what I mean? Just bring some people in the building and you know, just go in.
Yeah, because I think that to a certain level that, not on no cocky shit, but we're ready to have an open dialogue about any and everything. Like, you know what I mean? And it's just like, you know, people see what the platform is, people see what we're doing. So it's not on no shit to where it's just like, oh, the niggas say that they got all the answers, but it's just, nigga, we're coming from a spiritual standpoint and we're coming from a non-biased standpoint. Like, you know what I mean? So
like you said, just to build. We build
yeah,
it.
just you know, the free your mind shit, man. And of course the mind is associated with the soul, you know, for the people, you know, just to take it a step further. And when it comes down to that, it's just like, you know, niggas is open, man. And it's just like, again, niggas didn't put in that work, so we've been there. So you don't have to feel a certain type of way about asking a certain question, or you know what I mean, just thinking about certain shit. It's just like, you know, everything is everything, man, and you have to be comfortable with self, just like you were saying earlier. Like a lot of people, you know, aren't comfortable with who they are, like, you know what I mean, or I think somebody said something to where just like, well, I'm the only person that goes through this, and I used to think that shit too. Like, man, I'm the only nigga that went through this shit.
Yeah.
Nigga.
Like ain't nobody else relate.
Right. But then when you say it, they were like, nigga, you too? They were like, oh,
yeah,
shit. Like, okay.
Right. Exactly.
So then it just becomes a different, just like you said with the diamond shit, it becomes a different angle of light to where it's just like, oh, well, how did you feel about it? Oh, but
yeah, how'd you get through it?
Yeah,
oh, okay,
exactly. Right. And then we, as a collective, we get the understanding, and then we get an ideology of how to get past it and move on and ascend from that.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a fact. And we just gonna continue to elevate, you know what I mean? And continue growing and continue figuring shit out back to self again.
Back to self.
You know what I'm saying? It's all self. Back to self.
Right. Yeah, and it's just like, man. It's just, and I had to say this real quick because I know we're finna close out, but it's just like the Wizard of Oz, when she clicked them hills, she was trying to get home. Where's home at? Self.
Right. Getting comfortable with self in all situations.
Where's the kingdom of God at? Self.
Yep. It's all self.
It's all self, man. It's all you. It's all love. All
Facts.
Things are one thing. All for one for all.
Hey, if you heard it here first.
Hey,
my podcast, man. Best in the West. You know what I'm saying? That's just how we rock.
We go. I mean, because I like that you're nonchalant and non-egotistical when you say best in the West. I don't think that even the East Coast is fucking with niggas.
Best in the we gotta create something for the East
or down south. Niggas ain't got no cap. What cap? All right, I'm gonna get cocky. I don't want to get cocky. But what cap do niggas
hopefully
got?
That bring them in there. Hopefully that bring them in here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What cap do niggas got? Niggas ain't got no cap.
We just go. We just go.
Am I wrong for saying that? Can I say that?
I mean, hey,
niggas ain't got no cap. Like, nigga,
the cap is the no cap.
Facts. Everything and nothing at the same time. But again, shout out to the chat, man. Hey, you said stay humble, God. That is being humble. That's humble as fuck.
Yeah, it ain't even saying nothing really. You know,
man. Hey, we could. Hey, for niggas who got money, we could talk about having money. That's a fact. If this nigga Selfmade got money, I got money, we could talk about having money. Only niggas that's gonna be offended by us saying that we got money is broke niggas. And trust me, we're spiritual, and I'm talking spirit. We're spiritually rich. Like some niggas, fuck all that, nigga. Nigga, we're there.
Hey, it is what it is.
And
you are what you are.
I'm gonna get cocky. I was gonna say, if anybody want to test it, come to the show.
hey, that's a fair statement, yo. Like, there ain't nothing.
The show. There ain't nothing that we don't talk about.
Hey, you know, look, I done got sat on my ass by the universe enough times. I think I'm good dealing with, you know, the humans.
Hey, look, man. The I am is a proclamation of the confirmation. So you know, again, but on some real shit, we believe that everybody has this within them. So again, the free your mind is just to say that nigga, you got it too. Like nigga, we're not putting nothing into anybody. We make them examine it and extract it out. That's what experience is. It's to get it out of your system. Experience. X means the exit. X means to get it out. So again, so you know, we fuck with the people, man. Like no matter what you talk about, no matter where you come from, no matter what your background is, we want to talk about it. Like, and that's what it is. Like, you know what I mean? So if you just like Laura was saying before she got off, if anybody has anything, any questions, like we really genuinely fuck with the people. Genuinely. You don't see no cash app.
That's how it started.
Right. You don't see no cash app. You don't see no super chat. You don't see none of that shit. Like we do this shit freely. Free.
It's life. It's life. You know what I mean? We was doing it before, you know, we just took it to a platform. Now it's just
exactly giving the people
like broadcast it.
And I have to say this, like, you know, just coming from sometimes ideas get misconstrued when it's out, right?
Definitely.
So there could be situations to where you get a misunderstanding to where niggas is typing shit out and it's just like, well, nigga, that, you know what I mean? But when you're, again, going back to the throat chakra, going back to the throat chakra, when you're able to speak, then it's just like, okay, now you're speaking. So now it's just like, you can't misunderstand what's being said as opposed to what's being typed up, period. What's going to happen? Yep. He said, as soon as y'all cash up, I'm going to look. There's so many different people who came to me personally was like, hey, how come y'all niggas ain't charging? How come y'all niggas
where's the super chat? Listen.
Why somebody said in the chat earlier, it's all within. Why am I going to charge you for what you already know?
Yeah, we just expressing it from our perspective.
That's the illest shit ever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, niggas ain't like, nigga, I got where I work at, I don't worry about money. Like, you know what I mean? Even if I wasn't in a position to where I'm making the amount of money that I make, I'm like, this shit is still gonna be free. Because it's not and because you know a lot of people say like, you know, the game is to be sold, not to be told. But what's the game? Are we talking about the game, or are we talking about dropping jewels? It's a
real
different
life
energy. Like, you know what I mean? So when it comes down to that, it's just like, nigga, there was nobody who, again, like y'all heard my story, there's nobody who sat me down and gave me this. Right? So I'm gonna say this. Let me say this real quick. So when it comes down to even me and Selfmade or Laura or whoever that we got on the show breaking certain shit down, we're just talking. You still have to do the work to understand what we're talking about.
That's it.
So we're not giving anything but a difference of opinion or a difference of light or a different angle of light. You know what I mean? So then at that point in time, it's up to you to do the work. So you're still doing the work. So why pay me for doing your own work? That's stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
That shit don't even make no sense. And if we're talking about time, again, what Laura was saying, and I was trying to interject with what she was saying earlier because she was trying to give me my flowers for helping her get through some shit. But I talk all day. But at the same time as being a quote unquote teacher or somebody who gives you something, I'm getting something because it's a confirmation for me. So I'm also getting work on the opposite end of that because now it's a confirmation for me just to say like, okay, well, where's the work at? If I don't have nobody that's on the opposite end of what I'm saying as far as the work, there's no confirmation. So it's a relationship that happens when you got the student and the teacher, because I'm also the student and she's also the teacher because she's teaching me that my teaching is correct.
The confirmation, you know what I mean? So, the whole bill.
So the relationship, it goes further than just, you know, niggas saying like I am and, you know, up gang and that niggas is on top of, you know, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like ultimately, you know, just the love and the adoration that we have, just like my nephew was saying earlier, as far as the information wise, it's just like, yeah, nigga, we do this shit, but if we couldn't have nobody to bounce this shit off of, then what are we? If we break if we break the mirror, then who are we? You can't tell who you are without that mirror. You can't.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, okay, well now it's just like, okay, what it was, the people who understand it is just as smart as the people who spitting it. Because if you wasn't able to understand it, you know what I mean? Like, so we're on the same level.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to say that because I don't put myself above nobody. Like, you know what I mean? And that's on some real shit.
Yeah, that's real. She said the work is the price, and for some, that price is too high.
Woo!
That's a fact.
Bar. What's up, Renee? We gotta have Renee in this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that Q&A want to be for sure. But yeah, no, that.
Do you want to run that next week? Do you just want to fuck it?
Yeah, we could do that. I'm with it. Seem like, you know, that'll be, you know, it's the right vibration and shit. So
yeah. I'm trying to think of how we can present it in terms of like,
well, we can have like a different because I know we'll be all over the place. So I mean, we could, you know, section it out or something. You know what I mean? Time limited. I don't really like time limits, but you know,
hell nah.
You know, try to section it out. A certain type of, you know what I mean? We're gonna have certain types of questions in this, and I don't know. Yeah, no, y'all let us know in the comments. We can kind of figure it out too. Just
there we go. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so if you want to, I guess any questions that they got.
Yeah, or topics, you know what I mean, that we could touch on for next week.
Yeah.
Definitely drop those in the, you know, in the comment section on the post, or, you know, wherever you see the podcast stuff at. We'll probably make a post too, like throughout the week, and just see, like, you know, everybody put their questions down, and we could just go through that too, you know.
Yeah.
If people can't make the actual show to write down their questions, you know what I mean, and they could just watch it on the replay.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I was just going to touch on that. It's just like, you know, as far as the replay, because I don't want people to think that. Well, even if they do, like, you know what I mean, like, oh, them niggas, you know, they had like 4 or 5 days to, you know, talk about what the question was. But
yeah.
I want the live, fucking raw, fucking uncut.
I know.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, nigga, ask us right now, and we lit right now.
Yeah. I'm already knowing. Because then you get the feedback, you know, from that person, and you know what I mean? It kind of creates that dialogue.
Yeah, definitely.
And she just bouncing it off me and you, or, you know what I mean, the panel.
Yeah, but either way it go, like, you know what I mean? We gonna
it's gonna work itself out.
Yeah, it's gonna be lit, man. And again, shout out to the chat.
Man, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. We went away from 50 on our way to 100 subscribers. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
you can push it out how you can. You know what I'm saying? It'd be much appreciated.
Right. Oh yeah, I didn't even. Can I do a shameless plug? This is our show.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. We looking forward to the. I'm gonna push it out as a single. I got a single called "Gotta Had a Drip." I shot it at Elevated Studios. Shout out to them, and shout out to Emo putting this shit together. And this is this album is gonna be lit. I'm gonna put it out as an EP, but it's gonna be lit. It's gonna have like a lot of IM shit up in there, and it's gonna have a whole lot of up gang shit in that motherfucker.
Right.
You know, just the celebration of, you know, of making it through the storm, just a celebration of putting in the work, just a celebration of, you know, understanding certain shit. So I cannot wait till the people get a dose of this, because I wear so many different hats. People probably forgot that I rap. They're like, hold on,
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
drop it on him.
Yeah. So it's gonna be.
Hey, that thing almost done. You got like a drop date?
Not as far as the album or the EP, and the reason why is because the last project that I did with DJ Fresh, I did not I did not promote it as much as I felt that I should have or that I could have. So now it's just like like the singles. Like I'm dropping singles, putting the energy behind the singles. Boom. Okay, let me do this. Let me see how that shit rocking. But the range of the different energies that I put out in terms of the titles of the album, of the songs, like, you know what I mean? It's just gonna be like, you know what I mean? The title of the album is called, my first one, the last one that I did with DJ Fresh is called Music is Life is Music. So music is life and then life is music. This one I'm doing Life is Music is Life. So you know what I mean? So same shit.
Right.
But so it's a reflection, man, of just life and how we live and how we create certain songs and how, you know, just certain situations make us feel and all the shit. Like, you know what I mean? So it's definitely it's a true album. Like, you know, I mean, and when I say true, I just mean true to living, true to life. Like, you know what I mean? So but I got some shit that I'm gonna drop out there, man. And again, it's gonna take you on that roller coaster. It's gonna take you through the streets. It's gonna take you through love situations. It's gonna take you to just so many different instances to where it's just gonna be like, okay, like, you know what I mean? It's just not one thing. Like, you know what I mean? So again,
I'm looking forward to that, bro.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be one of the ones that was just like, okay, I'm focused on this shit. And to keep it a band, some of the songs I wrote, like, you know what I mean, like in 2020, because I'm sorry, 2019, because my idea was to drop it in 2020, like, you know what I mean. But COVID hit and all the shit. But I'm glad that it did, because it made me revisit the album, and I was just like, nigga, watch this shit that I'm gonna drop now.
Right.
You know what I mean? It had a level of maturity that took place. So I was just like, ooh, like, I'm glad.
You start seeing different shit, hearing different shit. You're like, oh yeah, this finna be lit.
Yeah, a level of growth. So it's just like, man, hell yeah. So again, the first thing that I'm gonna drop again is called Gotta Have a Drip. And if people hear it, you know, they might hear it on just a literal stance, but like, you know what I mean? But when you listen to it again, you might hear it on a metaphysical stance, and it's talking about some whole different shit. Right. Like, you know what I mean? But yeah, it's gonna be a good song, like, you know what I mean? So it's some dope shit.
When's that dropping? You got a drop date for that?
Man, you wanna know what?
I know you caught a glimpse of something already.
No, I ain't even got a sneak peek at the shit. But my idea was to, because I was just gonna drop just the videos, and I'm like, nah, because as soon as the video dropped, I want it to be available to the people to either download or however they, you know, listen to their music or purchase their music. So my initial date was the 21st, but I talked to somebody. Shout out to Cope 45 at Skylit Studios. That's actually he's out of town. I think he's in Texas and shit right now. So he said that he was going to be able to mix it down around like the 29th or the 30th. So coming into April, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? That's when it's going to be available, because when I drop the video, I'm looking forward to having the mixed down version. I don't want that shit to sound like shit. Like, you know what I mean? I want that shit to sound like the mixed down version, and like, nigga, go get it right now.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's no rush, man. Again, but when people hear this project, like, you know what I mean? Just like I said, just like, you know, it's gonna take motherfuckers on a roller coaster. Because I incorporated a lot of different shit in there. Just like I said, I wrote a duet on this motherfucker. It's gonna be dope. But Life is Music is Life, or when you see it, it's probably gonna be L.I.M.L. You know what I mean? All this shit. Life is Music is Life. Yeah, so be looking forward to that. Straight up.
Definitely. Yeah, I can't wait for that thing to come out, man. It's been a minute since you dropped some music, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, oh yeah, let me see what's popping, man. Definitely looking forward to that.
Some real shit. You was on, and I have to say this, you was on the last single that I dropped, which was Black is Beautiful.
Oh,
and
okay,
I listen to that shit to this day, and how you killed the hook on that motherfucker. I'm like, this nigga knows music. And you want to know what? And I knew that before. I was just like, hey, bro, I need you to do this hook. Like, you know what I mean? So I was like, because I know you know music. So I was just like, man, I'm like, let me see what this nigga gonna do with this shit. And the way that you executed it, I was just like, yeah, like, nigga, this shit is lit.
hey, nah, it's definitely overdue for some shit. You know what I'm saying? Between me and you, just to work on, man. He's gonna he's gonna have to put that in the works again, man. You know what I'm saying?
I have to say that to this. We finna put it out there right now. Because people don't know that you know how to chop. You understand what I'm trying to say? People don't know that. So, because I was like, man, I got to get this nigga Self on at least Who Got the Sauce, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm like, man, if this nigga, because I got hella verses for Who Got the Sauce. Niggas was sending me verses.
I remember you telling me, yeah.
Yeah, I got hella verses. I'm like, man, if I get this nigga Self on Who Got the Sauce, I think that's just gonna go crazy. So, you know, I don't know if you want to write to it or what, but it's let me say this. Because niggas forgot that I know how to fucking rap. Like when I did Who Got the Sauce, they was like, oh, this nigga Woon can rap. Like, yes, I can.
Yeah.
And when I did Run It Up, they was like, oh, nigga, you know how to rap fast too. Nigga, I come from that. That's where I come from. So Who Got the Sauce is literally, you know, where we come from. Like, nigga, we used to be in a circle, like a little cipher of niggas, and we used to snap our fingers and then niggas bust their gun. So Who Got the Sauce is that. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but it's just with a beat and a hook. Like, nigga, how you gonna...
So what? Is nigga talking that shit? How's that shit going?
Nigga, hey, spill your spill. Just like the hook say, who got the sauce? You got the sauce? Well, nigga, then spill your shit. Get on the mic and reveal your shit. Let's see if the people gonna feel your shit. So it's whatever you want to talk about. Like, you know what I mean? So just the bringing it back to the cipher, the essence of rap. Like, you know what I mean? The essence of, nigga, hey, this is all we got right now. It's just what your word is, what your vibe is, like, and I love it, like, because niggas are spilling they spill, and I'm like,
I might have to get into a bag, man. I might have to jump into a bag, man.
Yeah,
I think I still got the track because you sent it to me, huh?
Yeah,
or maybe not. I don't know if it was that one. I know I gotta check, but if I got it, I'm gonna see what's popping, man. It's a 16.
Yeah. It's a 16. I put out a whole ass a challenge to that shit. And the challenge kind of went up. You know how niggas, like, mainstream nigks put out challenges and shit. Now that's why I got so that's why I got so many verses, because niggas when I put
wait. How long is the song?
Look,
you got all those verses on the song?
Let me say this, and I'm glad you asked that. So the initial song, I have verses for the initial song.
Right.
And the reason why I say that is because when I put it out, I put out my verse. So niggas would have some type of, like, okay, well, this nigga's feeling like that. Well, but I got a whole nother verse that niggas ain't heard. And when I say, look, man, I say I went into my bag, I was in my fucking bag. And you know, niggas, like, and I say that about spirituality, and I say that about mathematics, and I say that about probably sex. But when it comes down to this verse, nigga, I was in my goddamn bag, nigga. On my life, I was in my bag. So
that's the one on the album?
Both versions are good on the album.
Oh, okay.
I'm dropping the regular shit of niggas, you know, of my first verse, you know, niggas tapping in and shit. But then I'm dropping a remix. And I'm gonna say this. For the niggas who's chopping, they're going to
not. Oh, okay. All right. Yep. All right. Say less there. Say less, man. Say less. You ain't even gotta say too much, man. You ain't even gotta say too much.
Yeah, so it's one of them things, man, to where again, and it's just a tribute to the original essence of what I felt like, what rap was when I was coming up. Like, nigga, like, we all in a circle, all in that cipher, and then nigga, it's just us and the cipher. Nigga, spill your spill, like, you know what I mean? And then if you got it, you got it. Like, you know what I mean? So I love hip hop, man. I love music. I love expression. I love creativity. I love all that shit. So, so that's that for me. Again, this album is different for me, man. I'm definitely in a different type of space for this album.
Right. Yeah, hell yeah, man. We like I said, man, we looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. We gonna definitely blast that video on the channel when it come out. You know what I'm saying? So let us know for sure.
Hey, shout out to the chat. I see Stephanie Jackson in the building. What's poppin'? We got Jaretta Prophet in here. We got cousin Nina in the building. What's poppin'? Hey, and also, hold on, wait, because Stephanie Jackson on some real shit. And this is Facebook, of course. I've had multiple bills with her, and she's on her journey right now. She's lit too, like, you know what I mean. So she's, again, like, this, the energy just flows freely. So she's another one of the people who I talk to behind the scenes that's gonna be on some dope ass shit for sure.
Next week, if ain't got nothing going on Thursday 6:30, you know what I mean? Feel free to pull through.
That's a fucking fact. Come slide up. Come ask some questions, or even if it don't even gotta be in a question sense. If you got just some spill, just to be like, hey, this is how I feel about a certain shit, and then we could build like this platform is just that. It's just so open. It's just so free your mind. It's just so us. It's just so I am.
Yeah. That's it, man. That's where the frequencies is. So yeah, feel free to slide through. This is the Free Your Mind podcast.
Yes, sir.
I mean, hey, I ain't got nothing else. You got something else? Any closing out?
So, with that, I'm gonna just say, even though I just not promoting my shit, you gotta tap in with my bro Selfmade album that he just put out.
Yep.
High frequency too. Y'all, it's
you on the wavelength if you want. Let me
say, that's what I was just gonna say. If you're tapped in with this podcast right now, you definitely want to tap in with this nigga shit, because it's this podcast times 10. Like, you know what I mean? So it's on some it's just musically, like, you know what I mean? So hell yeah. That's what I have to say. Right. Other than that, again, shout out to the sponsors, but not sponsors. Bel Air, we go. I'm gonna tag Rick Ross in some of this.
Yeah, we're gonna have to start tagging people before we keep showing them out. They're getting free promotion right now.
That's a fact. But shout out to everybody in the chat again. Shout out to everybody that's tapped in on Facebook. I'm able to go live again, like, you know what I mean, after a whole ass month. Like, you know what I mean? So that shit is good. That's it. We're good. We're lit.
Yes, sir. Y'all have a good rest of your night. Peace and love and darkness and all that good shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Always going up, you can't take from us. We ain't slowing up. Look what life gave us. Always going up, you can't take from us. We ain't slowing up. Look what life gave us.